Zero help. Hey, Ramblin' Rome, how are you? I'm trying to pull up. I'm in the wrong place. That's my problem. I'm trying to pull up Sky News. I'm trying to pull up. That was stupid of me. For the Sky News. All right, so I've been trying to keep up, and what the freak with TMZ? What the freak? What's up with that? Hold on. Here I am. All right, now I am where I want to be. Cool. All right. You should be able, hopefully, to hear everything. If that's, since it's been like a couple of days, I feel like all it takes is like a day or two, and then like you're kind of off your routine on this per se. So let me, okay, see, all it takes is a couple of days, and boom. I think I hit the wrong thing. Sure did. Sure did. Okay, there. That's what I want to do. Bang. Bang. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. There we go. Ta-da! Put this on mute for a little second. Hey, Cement Shoes, how you doing? See? A little bit of my stuff is going out a little bit more. Yeah, I just got home from the hospital. Let's just say they put a feeding tube in me. They're like, okay, go figure out the rest of it on your own. We don't have a service to come out and get you, because you know what? You can still actually eat like a small amount of food, which is like less than 200 calories a day. And they're like, so since you can have food and you're not strictly not on feeding tube, we have no one to come out and service you. Oh, okay. That's interesting. So they're like, oh, by the way, there's a step-by-step in your manual, so just follow that. Great. I'll try it at dinner. I'm like, whatever. This is crazy. But I'm home. Made it home in time, and I'm going to my friend's wedding. And I'm going to my friend's party the following weekend. That just keeps getting out of control. More and more. The craziness of it all. Literally for 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. they've got people coming over their house to give them IV bags so people don't have a hangover. A, they're not going to be able to access my port. And B, yeah, I would never be drinking that much because my stomach couldn't handle it. So, and plus they're like talking 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I don't stay up that late. I do not stay up that late anymore. Oh my God, I'm waking up hours at that time for me. Jesus. I'm like, Megan, you're crazy. You are crazy. And what they have going on at their house is going to be another story. Oh, you definitely better believe I'm going to be recording some of that, because that's going to be fun. So's this wedding. This wedding's going to be beautiful. It's out on Lake Seneca, in the Finger Lakes. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So I've been listening. Enough about me. Let's get to like the real stuff. I've been listening. I'm listening to this stuff. So TMZ gets to come in and say whatever they want. Really, no team understands what the hell they're going to say. From what I heard they do lean her way, but she sold them the copyrights. And they're going to try to probably come in and no one cares about perjuring themselves anymore. Nobody gives a fuck. Because why? Nobody gets punished for it anymore. Nobody gets punished for it. So, I would hate to be a jury where you have absolutely two completely different stories like this, and it's who do you believe? And if that was the case, everybody who was the other side would have, most of them would be perjuring themselves. Right, exactly. I agree. They sat on her side of the table. So they have no problems coming in and perjuring themselves. Even though Elaine got up and said something, maybe because she just wanted to make it seem non-biased, I could see Elaine doing that. Desperate times calls for desperate measures. And that's where they are. They're in desperation mode. I think that's obvious to see that they're in desperation mode. I mean, let's face it, with Dr. Curry coming up there today, Dr. Curry is freaking amazing. Love her. And thank you for Near Debt. I went and watched it on her channel all the times, and when I was sick in the hospital, I went. Now, mind you, she doesn't do it 24/7, which most people can't a lot of times because, you know, life gets in the way. I wasn't getting up anytime early to start this thing because I was still recuperating, which I still am now. I'm sorry. TMZ lawyer sat on her side of the table. Right. So I totally believe that they're on her side. And I think that was like, oh, yeah, we don't want them either. So I don't understand how a piece of smut magazine can come in and state their case. What do these people got to gain by supporting her? What is it? What is it? Because TMZ is all part of this faking out people that's not really happening, but putting it out like it's actually happening. They're totally part of that group of people, you know, like NBC, ABC, CBS. This is why none of us are going to watch it on their channels, because it's constantly skewed. Hell, no way. Not Law and Order, not Court TV. Both of them. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Because they're all skewed. Did you see her face? Oh, did you see her face when he was talking about Whitney? And how he felt about Whitney? And I'm like, there's that evil bitch. There she is. She tried to hide it for so long. She was pretty good for a while. Even with the fakeness that we all knew was fake. Came right out when he started talking about Whitney. Hey, yes, it's her little sister, but yeah, you know you abused the shit out of your sister, and that's why she's up there, because she's scared to death of you. And that's the truth. She's gross. I mean, if I was a part of this jury, and I wouldn't put it past her team to buy off some of these jurors. I wouldn't put it past them. I have to straighten out my legs. So I have to kind of move because, let's face it, man, I still hurt. I still hurt pretty bad. I still hurt really, really, really bad. I'm trying not to take the pain, but I'm doing my best. And it's not working very well. But we're going to get through this. We're going to get through all this. And I'm looking forward to getting through all this with you for the afternoon. It's like I got anything freaking planned. No, my daughter does, but I don't. Hi, Joy Lang. Yeah, I'm home. Oh, hey, Kim. Yeah, I'm so happy to be home. Oh, my God. I hate being at that place, man. And then you have to wait. And then sometimes, you know, for the most part, I've never had a crappy experience in that hospital. I would say 30% of my experience in that hospital, those couple of days really sucked. For the most part. And see, I was at the very end of the hallway, so they kind of ignored me a lot. They loved my roommate. My roommate was easily lovable. And she's like, oh, but you're so nice. I'm like, no, honey, I'm not like you. Like, I'm really, really nice. Like, if you talk to me and get to know me. And I said, but when it comes to like medical stuff, I'm not normally a nice person. But even she was like, I can't even believe. There was one, this nurse like flipped out on me. I didn't even say anything. I didn't even do anything wrong. And I said, don't you ever talk to me like that again. I swear to God. I was pissed. And I never lost my temper, which was good. And she turned out to be a tech. She wasn't even a nurse. I'm like, oh yeah, she's getting reported. Totally. Tech shouldn't be talking to me like that at freaking 6 o'clock in the morning. Are you kidding me? Enough about me. Like I said, I'm still getting over it and just still being home, so forgive me. But I try to get in as much as I can with calling the hospital and dealing with my doctor right now. The whole TMZ thing kind of threw me. I did hear people talking about TMZ, but I didn't know what it was about because it's been kind of crazy for me. So I wasn't able to keep up with what might be happening. Like I said, it was great to see Dr. Curry. Dr. Curry is, not only is she freaking gorgeous, but she's ridiculously smart. And the whole, which was my thing today, the whole mule. Yeah, he served mule. Like a mule what? Mule, a Moscow mule. Oh, okay, we're not talking about a real mule. Now, she laughed about it. I do believe that was a kind of joke in her way, but regardless of the fact, nothing that's come out of her mouth has been that smart. Elaine, poor Elaine. Trying to represent this girl. Now, mind you, she's won 2. She's won, well, no, let's take this back. She did not win in the UK. Ugh. Let's keep saying this. She did not win in the UK. She, once again, like TMZ, went there to give her side of the story. Now, she was brought up by Sky News, yes. And it's not like she was somebody who intervened. She didn't intervene. Sky News brought her up. And freaking Dan Wooten, who's part of Sky News, he's a piece of crap too, just like the TMZ people. That's exactly who he is. They're going to probably sit up there and try to tell her that she did not sell them the copy. Once again, if TMZ owns the rights to Amber Heard's video on her phone, that's Amber Heard. That's if I made a video recording of anything, whatever it may be, and I choose to be like, okay, this isn't my video, I can't show it anymore. I'm selling it to you for this amount of money. Of course they took it. They took bait, and yeah, they are going to support their journalism in any way as being 100%. So I don't count on TMZ at all. Johnny doesn't. But I think everything that we've seen so far, and still, Johnny's team has way more time left than Elaine. I don't know what the time is right now. Hey, MK. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't see you. Good to see you. I'm still hurting. I'm not going to lie. It sucks. They sat there and told me that getting a feeding tube was not that painful. That was lies. I woke up And I said to my doctor, I said, I swear to God, you didn't use a local. And she goes, I administered the local. And I'm like, the amount of pain that I woke up in. She's like, well, you had a lot of scar tissue, not to get gross. And I know, I'm going to get right back to where we were. I am. I'm going to feel better very soon because I'm going to this damn wedding this weekend, MK. I'm still going. I don't care if I'm dying. I'm still going. Definitely. Because a majority of this weekend, number one, everything's already paid for where we're going. It's already paid for. Hell yes, we're going. And it's a cabin. And the only time I'm really going to see my friends is at the wedding. Because this is like a little getaway from me and my husband as well. So we're just looking forward to that. Especially after this bullshit. We're just looking forward to that. So, and then my husband's not going to this party with me on Saturday. That's going to be crazy. That is going to be crazy. That is going to be like college all over again. I can't handle college parties, but it's going to be similar. He's 50, but it's going to be a college style party. For certain. Guarantee ice block shots. Don't think that's good during a pandemic, so I damn as hell won't be trying that. Knowing Megan, she will figure out a way to do it without anybody actually touching the ice block. I can see Megan doing that. So, hi, Miss Dorky. How are you? Thank you. Here's the deal. I'm never going to be quote unquote better. Me just getting a feeding tube proves that. The feeding tube is permanent. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Now I can still eat small amounts, but I don't think that'll ever change. They don't think that'll ever change either. So I just got to learn to live with it. Oh God, when I was in the hospital, I was never ever hungry, nor did I have any cravings of anything. It's great. Because then I'm not hungry, so I don't feel like I'm starving. So that's a good thing. So, to a keg stand. I wouldn't doubt there's people going to try. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Especially because we're all college friends. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. It's going to be insane. And there was this band we used to follow way back when in the day. And I think they recently just broke up as well. So if you're from like the Delaware, like Philadelphia area, or up near New York, Washington, D.C., you know who this band is. They're Mr. Green Jeans. And they're playing at my friend's party as Mr. Green Jeans. So that should be a ball. That should be so much fun. Oh my God. It should be so much fun. Because honest to God, even though they were a cover band, they drew huge crowds. Oh my God. Last time I went to see it was Running of the Santas, and that was nuts. And I think I had a channel back then. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I did not. Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it's going to be nuts. Oh, I've heard of Mr. Greegees. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But they're no longer together. We're no longer together. We all went to the same college, and they were really good friends. We never did get to see them often because they were always playing. If we had a party, like, it was very rare if they showed up. So it's good. This is going to be a fun party for certain. I know people are getting bored about hearing my stuff. Hey, I'm just trying to fill some time in here because I got to be honest. It's great that Kate Moss came forward because now there is still zero evidence that Johnny ever hit her. None. Not one bit of evidence except for Whitney, who already just got blown out of the water. Just saying. And it's not like these were people who were called on immediately. Like, these people wanted to give their opinion. And they weren't going to bring it in unless it was absolutely necessary. And there was a lot of people like Kate Moss who never said anything of the sort. I do think they're on the hook for publishing the video. Oh, yeah, because right now they look like a piece of shit. And right now, I don't know if this is just about clearing their name being brought in because this is being shown around the world, which I do believe that's going to be more of the story, but it's going to back more Amber than it is going to back Johnny. And as Ben Chew said, did she call Ben, was it Ben Chew she called snarky? Did she seriously call Ben Chew snarky? I thought Ben Chew is pretty, Rotten Bottom's more snarky, if we want to talk about snarks. Is that what she said? Did you guys hear that? Anybody? I know, there's a delay. I have to make sure. Yeah, she called, I forget if it was Ben Chew or Ben Rottenbottom. So, they're both Ben. Johnny has this in public opinion. I can't imagine these jurors going home the way they do and also having that week off, not hearing anybody's public opinion about this. Because even if you don't know about the story, even if you don't know about Johnny Depp, even if you don't know that your friend, you're talking to them about that, they're probably like, I can't talk about this. You gotta be like, she's horrible. See, you're not talking, I am. She's horrible. That's what I would do. Hey, it's going okay. You know, I'm doing my best to keep everything curbed in a certain manner. Try not to take the narcotics here. And I have a little bit of everything to keep me going to try to keep myself out of pain. I'm going to try. If it doesn't work, I have to move on. But I figured with being home and being out of the hospital, what the heck. So, good to see you, Bank Slate. Glad you're here. Cement Shoes, I'm glad you're here too. You were gone for so long, but I would still see you in E-Hackers all the time. I do like E-Hackers, and I do like the stuff that he puts out. You know what? I gotta admit, all these people who have put out stuff for Johnny, a majority of them, and I think, yeah, a majority of the people who are covering this, not including myself, are a part of like a comic book, are part of like, yeah, a comic book like community who kind of jumped on this because of Marvel, because of Pirates of the Caribbean, because they kind of cover Disney stuff. They cover a whole they cover movies, like Popcorn Planet. He's grown unbelievably. That Umbrella book, same with that Umbrella guy. He's like, this is kind of insane. He's like, I knew like these guys were going to grow, but at the same time, when we found out that Adam Walden spoke and said, yeah, like kind of admitted, you know, he didn't know Tug's name, you know, maybe talked to him on email, but he never really answered the question. But that Umbrella guy just stated, yep, I can finally tell you who my source is. It's Adam Walden. And I know he wouldn't have gotten the okay until he's like, all right, after the testimony and your name comes up, then you can say it's okay. I guarantee it had to be that way. Because he's actually a really good stand-up guy, Tug. I like him a lot. Although, there's a girl, she's like, I don't like him. I'm like, how can you not like Tug? Yeah, but I like him a lot. And I think what he has done with getting out the correct information to everybody. And let's face it, a lot of us knew the real story before we even started watching this. And it was just a matter of how she was going to angle this the best way she knew how with everything that's come out in a year. Mind you, think of the people who are trying to destroy this court case. That shows you the people who are desperate. It shows you the people who are going, oh shit, we're not being believed. why else would somebody need to do this? Nobody else would need to do this. Hey, EP! Speaking of somebody from Nerdette's channel, that would be EP. Yeah, I thought I'd go live since I'm home tonight and talk about this because I haven't really been. I talked my nurse's ear and off. As a matter of fact, one guy looked at me. He's like, "Weren't you here like recently?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was," and he's like, "You were the one who knew everything about like the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thing." I'm like, "Yes, guilty. I do." He's like, "Everything that's coming out, it's like everything you said." I'm like, "Yeah." I said it's all there on the internet. It's just there to be found. You got to find it. So it just amazes me the desperation of her team. It's so easily seen. It's got to be easily seen by these jurors because today, during Johnny's testimony, during Dr. Curry's testimony, also what we heard from like Kate Moss, they're freaking out. They're freaking out. They know. They're like, holy crap. And they don't have a lot of time to fight this. Hence TMZ coming in. Because that wouldn't be her time. This would be a whole new thing. I don't know how it's covered. MK might understand how it's better covered. But yeah, this wouldn't be time considered for Amber's team, considering this is somebody new. Isn't that true or no? Not sure. I've never seen this happen before. As Judge Penny said, she's like, during this trial, there's a lot of things I've never seen happen before. I'm sure she's never heard about some adult woman pooping in somebody, basically pooping in her own bed. Let's be honest. Pooping in her own bed. You think, EP? You think he's going to spill the beans? Because he sat on her side. And it seems like to me she might be the only team that would benefit from this. How the clocks is working here. Yeah. Seems like AH is already out of time, right, to me. But she seems to have about an hour and change. Okay, thank you. Does that include well, once again, information I don't know if that includes their closing statements. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that doesn't include their closing statements. I normally don't like to eat, but I gotta kind of suck on some stuff and eat a little bit because I have to. Since I've been out of the hospital, I haven't had any nutrition. So, as soon as I figure out how to do that, I promise you I'm not trying to do this on purpose. I'm doing it because my body's like, you need it. So, I hope you're right, EP. I mean, they both make cases on why they don't want to, but Brenda, I keep calling her Brenda because she does. She looks like a Brenda. Elaine's case is kind of crappy. That wouldn't be a reason on why it needs to be thrown out. Where Ben Chews was actually. Did somebody tell me, did he say that Ben Chew was snarky? Or did he say that Ben Rottenborn was snarky? Because Ben Rottenborn is unbelievably snarky. TMZ's lawyer is there against the TMZ guy. Oh. Aha. See, I'm not sure about all this. Being in the hospitals kept me out of the loop. Okay. This is going to be freaking interesting. She called Johnny's Ben snarky. He's not snarky compared to fucking Rottenborn. Dear God. No way. No way. No, I think each and every one of them are snarky in their own way, and they need to be during this because this is it. This is going to be what they think. And I think now this isn't going to be the case of what they're thinking when this whole trial started. I'm not sure that they knew that the world would be watching. And I didn't think Amber Heard thought she would look this bad, because she does. TMZ's lawyer wanted to be able to object, and judge said, no, this isn't your case. True. True. Yeah, man, I'm out of the loop. It was a moment. Yeah, it was a moment. You gotta think, Judge Penny's probably used to like the simplest forms. Now, she probably heard like murder cases, like horrible cases like this, like that. Something like this, she's probably like, I mean, let's face it, all of us are looking at this like, and see, it pisses me off because I try to talk about it with my sister, who's a lawyer, and I tried to talk about it with my sister, who wasn't a lawyer, and like we were at the wedding that we all went to, and she was like, but we don't want to hear about that. We don't have time for that. I'm like, screw you. My sister, I guess it was before I went in the hospital. What channel is the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing on again? Oh my God, I'm hooked. I thought you couldn't be bothered. It's because they didn't know their information. Who just texted me? I guess someone wanting me to buy a car. I'm sorry. Yep. What MK said, LOL. She didn't, hold on. Yeah, you seem to know your shit a little bit better here. She didn't really call JD's Ben snarky. It was TMZ's lawyer that called him snarky. And the judge just joked about that, saying he's just naturally snarky. Thank you. So she wasn't saying it about Ben Chu. She was saying it about this TMZ lawyer. Because it's TMZ then. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense, because I thought if she was calling Ben Chu snarky, who's been pretty much fucking quiet this whole thing, yeah, I was like, shut the hell up. No, he's not. Rottenborn is way worse. Elaine is way worse. And Camille's amazing. There are some of these lawyers that are on here that I'm like, the blonde, I don't think she's very good. That's just my opinion. I think she's too easy. I think you have to be a little hard to do this. Hard in. Right. Gotcha, Ramblin' Room. She was talking about Ben Chu, but she was just kidding. Gotcha. Okay. I get it. Now I'm understanding. Sorry. Got a lot going on here. It's hard for me to kind of focus on one thing. But I'm doing my damn best. And see, at least I'm going to give this to you. I'll be back during the breaks, but I am not going to talk during this unless it's absolutely the most absurd thing I've ever heard. I've got to be like, what? But I'm not going to talk over people. I promise you I won't do that. But I'm very interested to see how this TMZ thing's going to go. What time did they say they were going to be back? I think it was 2:05. I'm picking a different spelling. each time. The Rottenborn. Yeah, I think it's just, I just say Ben Chew, Chew. I'm not even sure. Thankfully, Rottenborn is sound exactly the way it sounds. Elena, her last name's difficult, so who cares? But I'm sorry, the whole mule thing, that was hilarious. Yeah, mule. What's mule? Like she didn't like I didn't even know what a Moscow mule was. But if someone would have said a Moscow mule or it was a drink mule, I would have just assumed it was drinks that they made. Like I wouldn't have to make it sure that you're like, okay, whatever. They were short names for a drink that they're calling. Why we had to talk about what the drinks were was beyond my comprehension. That was hilarious. I don't understand. You shouldn't be trying to fill up time like that, Elaine. Just saying. Waste of a question. 10 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Soonish. I'm just... Yeah, like I'm just going to try to suck on these. I'm not going to be like, that's kind of gross to me. I don't like to do that. But I can do this so you don't have to watch me. But you still have to hear me. That might even be grosser. Not even sure. But, mm-hmm. Mm. I'm going to try one at the wedding. In honor of Johnny Depp, I'm going to try one at the wedding. My friend who's getting married should probably be in on that. Yeah, yeah, Johnny Depp. Let's make a toast to Johnny Depp. Isn't happy hour anytime? Hey, it's helping me with pain anyway. At least I'm trying every way possible. I don't even know how. But YouTube definitely is not pushing my shit out there at all, which is fine, which is good. They're sending it out to my people who are notified. I think even some of the people that were notified, they're not getting notified. But that's cool as well. You know, I like our small little space here. Anybody who likes to talk with us and bring a positive vibe and not try to start with other people. That's what matters the most. Like, as long as we have nice people here. YouTube keeps denying me monetization. Sorry. I haven't even tried. I have no desire to. A, because I am disabled. Uh-oh. Come on. Come on. It's still muted, guys. This should be interesting.
All right, you can have a seat. All right, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Depp, I'd like to start with the honeymoon that you and Ms. Heard took in late July 2015.
Certainly.
You testify that you took a train ride from Bangkok to Singapore, is that right?
That's correct.
And you claim that on this train ride that Ms. Heard hit you in the face, correct?
Yes.
And left a black eye, correct?
Yes.
And Michelle, could you please pull up PX 162?
Is that already in evidence?
Yes, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Publish to the jury.
Thank you. Mr. Depp, this is the picture that your counsel showed you both in your prior, or showed you this morning, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that mark under your left eye is what you claim to be a black eye caused by Miss Heard, correct?
Seems to be there's some scratches around my nose as well.
Okay. All right, but that, it's your left eye, the one close to the chef. That's what you says your black eye, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was the picture your team chose to show you, right?
It's a picture
Let's pull up
someone
Exhibit
showed me,
1905,
yes.
Michelle, please.
I'm sorry, which number was it?
This is a new exhibit, Your Honor, 1905.
And that's defendants?
Defendant's Exhibit 1905.
Okay, thank you.
Ask for permission to publish, Your Honor.
Or you want to put it in evidence? Okay, any objection to 1905?
With the comments, we have no objection to the photograph itself. We would ask the comments be redacted as hearsay.
Well, I'd like to at least question the witness about the
I
comments.
have no objection to the photograph being published.
Okay, well, let's wait a minute. Mr. Depp, you see here, these are 4 pictures of you, right?
Yes,
Yeah, and below it, they indicate that they were taken on July 24th, 2015 in Bangkok, Thailand, correct?
Objection, lack of foundation, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
in Bangkok, Thailand, so before the train ride.
Correct, before the train ride, because you didn't get on the train ride till the 25th, is that right?
Somewhere in that area, I guess.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask for permission to publish this to the jury.
All right,
If it's just the photographs, we have no
all right,
objection.
if you want to redact the, just have the photographs in it?
Sure. We'll do 1905.
5, just with redaction, sure, would be fine. I think there's still some on the bottom. I'm just,
It's just redact that. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle.
all right, publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Michelle, could you please scroll down to the bottom 2 pictures there? Mr. Depp, in these pictures that were taken before you got on the train ride for your honeymoon, where you claim that Miss Heard hit you and gave you a black eye, you have the exact same shadow or sunburn or mark under your left eye. The exact same mark, don't you?
That's the, when you get a side light, you see the occipital bone. So that is the exact area.
Yep. And it's actually,
A side light will cause that.
yeah, well,
as
the
well.
picture's not being taken from the side, is it? It's being taken head on, isn't it?
No. The lens in front,
Yeah,
the light on the side.
right.
Will cause that occipital bone, I believe it's called, to appear sunken. And-
Just like lights on the side of a train car, correct?
Objection,
Well-
calls for
You can
speculation.
take that down, Michelle.
That was in fact in the dark.
Sus-
I had a
sustain-
chef, I had people on either side of me, so
You can
I
wait for
don't
next-
see where the light bill is from the side there.
Mr. Depp, if you could wait for the next question, next question.
Next
Oh,
question.
sorry.
Even the picture your team chose to show you on that train isn't accurate, is it? Let's pull up.
Objection,
exhibit-
calls for
let-
speculation.
Let's pull up Exhibit 1859, please.
1859, is that in evidence?
He's trying-
No, Your Honor.
1859.
Mr. Depp, this is the same picture, or the exact same scene displayed in PX 162 that you looked at this morning, correct?
That looks like my face has been, the eyes have been photoshopped.
Oh, okay. So this post from the Eastern and Oriental Express's Facebook page, you're saying that that's photoshopped?
Is
Let's
that from
pull
their
them up side
page?
by
I would,
side.
sure, why wouldn't they?
Let's pull them up side by side, please. Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of this exhibit. We can just have the pictures. We don't need the,
Any objection to the picture?
Objection, lack of foundation, lack of authentication.
is that you in the photo, Mr. Depp?
It is me, but it's clearly,
Your
it's
Honor,
been,
I'd move
it's
to strike
been-
anything after that, first of all, and would ask for admission of this photograph.
All right, just the photograph?
Yep.
You're gonna,
We maintain our lack of authentication, lack of foundation.
all right, over objection, I'll allow 1859 in evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. Michelle, could I please get you to,
You need to redact it first.
we actually have one, it's, that will admit, or ask to be admitted as 1858. That is just the picture.
I already have 1850.
Okay, so we'll call this 1859 then.
So this is 1859,
Yeah, we just need to,
okay.
we'll fix that exhibit sticker on the bottom and get you that correct 1859.
1859.
And Michelle, what I'd like to ask you to do, please, is to put the picture displayed as 1859, just was admitted into evidence, next to PX 162 that was shown to Mr. Depp this morning.
Okay, you can pop, those are both in evidence.
Can you try to make them the same size, please? This is the exact same picture, isn't it, Mr. Depp?
with radically different quality. And
No, you answered my question.
how
Permission
do
to
you know I
publish.
wasn't done? answering?
You answered my question, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Depp, you had that, whatever mark it is, whether it's a sunburn, whether it's a shadow, whether it's the light reflecting, you had that same mark on your eye before you got on that train.
Well, it's pretty difficult to get a sunburn on a train. And
let's
in
go
the
to
photographs
full-
with the child, I don't look particularly sunburned. Can we see those again?
Let's pull up exhibit one. Actually, no, let's talk about Australia for a little bit.
Oh, good.
You testified that you've never done ecstasy more than a handful of times in your life, correct?
6, 7 times.
Now, you heard Miss Heard's testimony. You've been sitting, I know you didn't look at her, but you heard her testimony. And
Oh, I
you
heard
heard her, you didn't hear her say you ingested 8 to 10 all at once. She said she came down after being apart from you for some time, and there were 8 to 10 gone from the bag, correct?
Objection, form, compound.
Oh, overruled.
I also heard Miss Heard say I reached into a bag and poured a bunch of
Yep,
MDMA down my mouth.
correct,
Um,
that's right. She
a
didn't say you
handful.
poured 10 at one time, did she?
No, she said a handful.
Okay.
Which is more than 10, I believe.
Okay, the fact is, Mr. Depp, you were asking for ecstasy. You who have only done it 6 times in your life, you were asking for ecstasy and cocaine within minutes of being admitted to the hospital after suffering your finger injury, weren't you?
Objection, compound.
I don't recall that I was
Overruled.
Let's
begging
pull up,
for any drugs.
yeah, let's pull up plaintiff's, or exhibit 393, please. You just said you don't recall you were begging for any drugs?
No, I
that-
don't, but I do
okay.
recall being in great pain and great distress, so
Okay,
I could have asked for a teddy bear as well.
okay. So this has been admitted, Your Honor.
This is in evidence, okay, you can publish.
And if you can blow up the text, please, Michelle. In this text message, Mr. Depp, you were, after you suffered your finger injury, you just testified you don't recall asking for any drugs. You're texting Nathan Holmes, your personal assistant, need more whitey stuff, ASAP, brother man, and the e-business. Now, we went over this in your cross-examination, didn't we?
If you say so, sir,
And Whitey stuff is cocaine,
I would say.
and the e-business is ecstasy.
Um,
You already
yeah,
said
quite
so.
likely, yes.
Okay.
So
You
I
can take that
didn't
in.
recall that.
Thank you.
But,
Can you pull up exhibit 1817, please? This is a picture that you were shown this morning, Mr. Depp.
yes, sir.
And you kind of made some illustrations on the picture and gave your account of what you see here. Mr. Depp, you testified previously that the vodka bottle that you allege cut off your finger was a handle of vodka, correct?
Yes.
You've already
the
testified to that,
second
correct?
bottle, there was a handle on it, bottle,
Right.
yes.
This bottle, whatever it is, to the extent it's glass at all, that's in the corner of this room, that's not a handle of vodka.
Objection calls for speculation.
I think you'll find that I said 2 bottles.
Well, actually,
From-
what you testified to this morning, Mr. Depp, was that the bottle in the corner was the handle, and there is no other bottle in the picture, is there?
No, that's not what I testified. I testified that, may I touch the screen?
Yes.
This is glass. This is glass.
Yep. And that's not a handle. Neither of those are handles of vodka.
It's that big, it's broken. The handle's up the top on those vodka bottles, sir.
Yeah.
I mean,
And none, if you combine all that glass on the floor, that doesn't make up the amount of glass in a handle of vodka, does it?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'm not. See it, I see glass under this chair here.
Okay. Well, you testified this morning that you did see it, so it's good to get that clarification. Let's move
No, I
on.
didn't say I saw a handle.
You also testified this morning that yeah, and I want to get this, I want to make sure that we're on the same page here. You
I don't think we
testified
will be.
earlier this morning that there was no phone in the bar area downstairs. Is that what you testified to?
I don't recall a phone in the bar area.
Okay,
I don't recall a Bakelite phone in the bar area where I,
okay.
no.
Let's pull up, Michelle, please, the UK day 3, page 421. Mr. Depp, we've done this drill before. This is your testimony from the UK, correct?
Can I please have,
It's this. We don't have copies for everyone. It's on the screen.
Your
right
Honor,
there.
may I please, I would like to have what he is, the testimony of the
Here,
witness.
you can have my copy. Mr. Depp, you remember giving testimony in the UK trial for several days, correct?
Okay, so, yeah, okay, here.
Yep.
So I
And
do remember a telephone in the bar area, and this
Yeah, well,
telephone you picked up was made of Bakelite.
This is my turn to do this, Mr. Depp.
I'm sorry.
On page 421, line 19, you were asked a question, and this telephone that you picked up was made of, I'm sorry, I'm going to go up line 15. Question, at one stage when you were in the kitchen screaming at Miss Heard, you picked up a wall-mounted telephone. Do you remember a telephone in the kitchen? Answer, no ma'am, I remember a telephone in the bar area. Question, and this telephone that you picked up was made of Bakelite. Do you know what I mean by that? A retro telephone, wall-mounted but retro. Answer, it was a wall-mounted telephone, but it was not Bakelite. It was a modern phone. It was plastic. Question, a phone that was a wall-mounted phone that was picked up, can you scroll down, please? Question, a phone that was a wall-mounted phone that was picked up by you, held in your right hand, and you were repeatedly smashing it against the wall in your right hand. Answer, that is possible. But I do not, if that is the case, I do not believe I spent very much time on the phone. I remember ripping the phone off the wall. That was your testimony, correct?
It seems it would be yes.
Thank you.
I,
Answer my question. Thank you. Mr. Depp, you've claimed before, you've said, if I'm angry and I've got to lash out or hit somebody, I'm going to do it. And I don't care what the repercussions are. Anger doesn't pay rent. It's got to go. It's got to be evicted. You've said that before, haven't you?
Have you a quote from me somewhere saying that?
It's my question to you. You've said that before, haven't you? Well, actually, let's refresh your recollection. Can you pull up
Be great.
the Ghost in the Machine article, please?
Possibly about paparazzis.
Mr. Depp, you see the picture of you on the lower left.
Yes.
Appears to be shirtless and wearing a crown, I believe. You see the long paragraph above that that starts with "in the Mark Hotel"?
Ah, yes,
You see
yes,
that?
yes, I
At
do.
the bottom of that, does this refresh your recollection that you said, "I have a lot of love inside me and a lot of anger inside me as well. If I love somebody, then I'm going to love them. If I'm angry and I've got to lash out or hit somebody, I'm going to do it, and I don't care what the repercussions are. Anger doesn't pay rent. It's got to go. It's got to be evicted." Did I read that right?
You did read that right, yes.
Thank you. You can take that down, Michelle, please. Now, Mr. Depp, you've also claimed that you've said before that if you want to be with a woman sexually, that she is rightfully yours, haven't you?
Could you repeat that?
And you've also said that with
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, that if you want to be with a woman sexually, that she is rightfully yours.
That's ludicrous.
You've also said that with respect to women that you want to be with, you've remarked, "I need, I want, I take," haven't you?
Equally as ludicrous, no.
Can you pull up DX 883, please?
You can pull it what you like, I've never said those words. There's not enough hubris in me to say anything like that.
883?
883, Your Honor.
It's not,
DX
is it
It
empty?
is not admitted yet.
Okay, 883.
Mr. Depp, these are text messages from you to Stephen Deuters on February 22nd, 2017, correct?
This, no, this looks nothing like me. You might have mistaken,
Mr. Depp, we can show the full unredacted. You've looked at a number of text messages in this case, and the words "him" as the identifier, that's you, correct? In every text message we've seen in this case.
yeah, sure. It still doesn't mean it hasn't been screwed with. That's not anything that I've ever said or written.
You want to see the whole thing unredacted? We can look at that too.
No, because you could have typed it up last night, no.
Yeah. I can assure you I didn't type it up last night, Mr. Depp. Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of Exhibit 883.
All right, any objection?
Objection on relevance grounds, Your Honor.
All right, well, do you want to approach for a moment? Let's take a look. All right, 883 in evidence as redacted.
Thank you. Mr. Depp, you're aware that these are text messages. You can see the bottom right where it says Depp and then it has a number, 8129. Those are produced by you in this litigation. You understand that, right?
I understand that, sir.
All right, Michelle, could you please, let's take a look at the top text first. Mr. Depp, on February 22nd, 2017, you texted Mr. Deuters, "Right, exactly, Molly's pussy is rightfully mine. Should I not just bust in and remove its hinges tonight? Did I read that right?
You read it right.
And the
yes.
one beneath that, you say, I want to change her understanding of what it is like to be thrashed about like a pleading mackerel. And then in all caps, you write, I need, I want, I take. Did I read that right?
You read it right, but I did not write that.
Okay.
Perhaps someone else.
You wrote
had
every
my
other
phone.
text that you produced that came from you in this litigation, didn't you?
Not necessarily. Sometimes you give your phone to people and they
Now,
text
when you
from
got
it.
off that plane
Excuse me?
from Boston,
I'm sorry?
when you got off the plane from Boston, you knew Miss Heard was angry with you, didn't you?
It was pretty much a given.
Objection, calls for speculation.
And you understood her to be angry, right?
She was always angry, yes.
And you asked Mr. Duders, same person, you can take this down, Michelle, please, thank you. Same person that you texted in that last exhibit, you asked Mr. Duders to communicate with her on your behalf, correct?
I don't know what you're talking about. You'll have to explain.
You asked Mr. Duders to communicate with Miss Heard by text to speak to her about the incident, correct?
About what incident?
To speak to her about the plane flight,
The plane?
the Boston plane.
The Boston plane. So you're saying that I influenced Mr. Duders. I told him that he had to write this, and I had told him that he had to write that. Is that what you're saying?
No, it wasn't uncommon for Mr. Duders to text, to communicate with Miss Heard on your behalf, correct?
Objection, calls for speculation.
He was your personal assistant, Mr. Duders was your personal assistant, correct?
I had two personal assistants
Right.
at the time.
He was one of them, right?
Yeah, Mr. Duders was one of them, yes, sir.
Right, and it wasn't uncommon for you to ask Mr. Duders to communicate with Miss Heard on your behalf, correct?
It wasn't uncommon for any of them to communicate with Miss Heard on my behalf if I were on set or unavailable or any of that.
Or if Miss Heard and you had a fight, you would sometimes have them communicate with Miss Heard on your behalf, correct?
I think my crew caught on very quickly that
Just a yes or no,
would
Mr.
be
Depp.
necessary for them to.
No, just a yes or no. It was not uncommon after
Objection,
you and Miss
Your
Heard
Honor.
had
I'd ask that he be allowed to finish his answer.
yes or no question, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Wasn't uncommon for you to have one of your personal assistants communicate with Miss Heard after you and her had a fight.
I disagree because you're insinuating that I had them do it, and you don't know that.
After the Boston plane flight, you had Mr. Duders communicate with Miss Heard, correct?
When I'm asked what to do, I said placate her, just placate her like we always do.
And you told him, send her whatever message you need to send to
I'm
placate her,
sorry, he's
correct?
sorry, he feels bad, yes, because any other answer, it would turn into World War III.
Okay. Can you pull up Exhibit 229, please? Your Honor, I think you know where I'm going here, and based on Mr. Depp's testimony, I'd move for the admission of Exhibit 229.
Your Honor, can we please approach?
Sure.
Mr. Depp, you were pretty angry after Miss Heard got her temporary restraining order, weren't you?
Angry. I was, more than anything, I was hurt.
And you testified earlier this morning, you claimed that you somehow were responsible for her getting the role with Warner Brothers, correct? That's what you testified to this morning. You also tried to get her fired from Aquaman, didn't you? After the temporary restraining order.
Which question would you like me to handle first, sir?
One question, sir. You tried to get her fired from the Aquaman after the temporary restraining order, didn't you?
Well, what is related to the story about me getting
It just,
her?
yes or no, Mr. Depp. I don't, I
So
didn't ask
life does
what
not come
related,
down to
what
yes or
story
no at all
related to.
times. I can't please you with a yes or a no every single time.
It's a yes or no question, Mr. Depp. You tried to get Ms. Heard fired, didn't you?
Answer's no.
All right, let's pull up Exhibit 821.
Is that
Mr.
me
Depp,
trying to
is
get her
this-
fired?
This is a text message that you had with your sister, Christy Dombrowski. She was the first witness in this case, right?
She doesn't work at Warner Brothers.
She-
You can't fire Amber.
Yeah. This is a text message you had with her on June 4th, 2016, isn't it?
June 12th, yes.
Your Honor, move for the admission of Exhibit 821 as redacted.
Any objection?
We would object on relevance grounds, Your Honor.
I'll overrule that objection, 821 in evidence.
And on June 4th, 2016, Mr. Depp, you texted your sister, "I want her replaced on that WB film." Did I read that right?
You did.
Her is referring to Amber, right?
That's correct.
And WB is Warner Brothers, correct?
Again, correct, yes.
And then after you sent this text to your sister, following the temporary restraining order, you reached out to Guy Silverstein to have him fire Amber, correct?
Who?
It's Greg Silverstein, I'm sorry.
I don't recall reaching out to Greg Silverstein.
You reached out to Sue Crawl to get him to
Particularly.
fire Miss Heard, right?
I had vetted Miss Heard. And I had vetted Miss Heard.
Mr. Depp, you got your chance to
Warner
speak this morning.
Brothers
Your Honor,
Warner
ask-
Brothers had two franchises.
Mr. Depp, if you could just answer the question, sir. All right, next question.
You reached out to Greg Silverstein to get him to try to get Amber fired from Aquaman, didn't you?
I
Asked and
reached-
answered.
Excuse me?
Asked and answered.
It's a yes or no question that he hasn't answered, yes or no.
All right.
Yes or no, sir? You reached out to Greg Silverstein to try to get Amber fired from Aquaman.
Second half of your question is wrong, sir.
You
I
reached out to Sue
them
Crawl.
because I vetted her.
No, Mr. Depp. You reached out to Sue
What would
Crawl
you
to
like?
get
I
her
don't
to try to get her to help you get Amber fired from Aquaman, didn't you?
No.
And you reached out to Kevin Sujihara to try to get him to help you get Amber fired from Aquaman, didn't you?
No.
Can you pull up Exhibit 857, please? Mr. Depp, this is a text message that you sent to Christian Carino on August 15th, 2016, correct?
This is already in evidence, correct? Or is it 857?
Parts of it are,
Oh, so not this,
not this
well,
version.
this can't be 857, then don't,
850, sorry.
Mr. Unburn, you can't do this to me.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Understood. We'll call it 857A.
857. Okay. All right, yes, sir, thank you.
My apologies, Your Honor. Mr. Depp, you sent this text to Christian Carino on August 15th?
I most certainly did.
Okay. And in this text that you sent to Christian, Christian Carino is the person who used to be Amber's agent and then was your agent for a time, correct?
That is correct.
And in this text, Your Honor, permission to publish, please.
Do you want to put it in evidence
Yeah,
first?
move for admission of
Any
857A.
objection?
No objection.
All right, 857A, as redacted, will be in evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. And in this text, Mr. Depp, you said, "She's begging for total global humiliation. She's going to get it. I'm going to need your texts about San Francisco, brother. I'm even sorry to ask, but she sucked Mollusk's crooked dick and he gave her some shitty lawyers. I have no mercy, no fear, and not an ounce of emotion, or what I once thought was love for this gold-digging, low-level, dime-a-dozen, mushy, pointless, dangling, overused, flappy fish market. I'm so fucking happy she wants to go to fight this out. She will hit the wall hard, and I cannot wait to have this waste of a cum guzzler out of my life. I met a fucking sublime little Russian here, which made me realize the time I blew on that 50-cent stripper. I wouldn't touch her with a goddamn glove. I can only hope that karma kicks in and takes the gift of breath from her. Sorry, man, but now I will stop at nothing. Let's see if Mollusk has a pair. Come see me face to face. I'll show him things he's never seen before, like the other side of his dick when I slice it off. Did I read that right?
You did.
Now, not long after this, you can take that down, Michelle, thank you. Not long after this, you met Mr. Waldman in the late summer or fall of 2016, correct?
I believe, yeah, September, October, somewhere in there, whatever.
And he's been your attorney since then, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you met with him with the Daily Mail in London in February 2020, didn't you?
I'm sorry, again?
You and Mr. Waldman together met with the Daily Mail in London in February 2020, didn't you?
Are you asking me a question about my attorney and I?
Yeah, that you two met with people from the Daily Mail in London in February 2020.
Was that during the London trial?
No,
No?
no, in February.
I don't recall it, though.
Okay.
I don't.
To the extent Mr. Waldman testified that you did, you don't dispute that, correct?
I just don't recall it.
Okay. You don't disagree with Mr. Waldman's testimony that you and he met with people from the Daily Mail in London in February 2020, correct?
If that's Mr. Waldman's testimony, then.
Okay.
But I just didn't necessarily know who these people were,
Right.
I guess.
The same month that the Daily Mail released alleged tapes between you and Amber.
Objection
Correct.
calls for speculation, lack of
Alleged.
personal knowledge.
Alleged.
I'll
tape.
sustain the objection. Next question.
Now, Mr. Depp, you testified, and I wrote it down before lunch. You said, when Ms. Myers asked you something about, how does it feel to make you, or how does it feel to be here? You said, I've been living with it for 6 years and waiting to be able to get the truth out. You remember saying that?
Yes.
You also said, I've spoken up for what I've been carrying on my back. Something to that effect. You remember saying that?
Yes.
And you've claimed several times in this proceeding, Mr. Depp, that this trial is your first chance to tell your story, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
But that's just not true, is it, Mr. Depp? That's not
Yes.
true.
No, for me it is true.
Okay, well, here's the thing. The fact is, Mr. Depp, when Dan Wooten wrote an article that was published in The Sun calling you a wife beater, you brought a lawsuit against The Sun in June of 2018, correct?
Yes, I put
And that was 6 months before Miss Heard ever wrote her op-ed, correct?
I don't know.
And in the summer of 2020, there was a several-week trial in London against The Sun, correct?
Ms. Heard was not a party to that trial, was she?
Not my
Or was
question,
that-
Mr. Depp. In the article that The Sun wrote that you sued over, you sued for Mr. Wooten calling you a wife beater, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustain. Next question.
And in the trial that you subsequently brought, you called a lot of witnesses, right?
I don't know what a lot is. I don't know.
Many people testified on both sides of the trial, correct?
Yes, many people.
And many exhibits were introduced, correct?
Like a trial, yes.
And you, just like in this trial, you were on the stand for several days in that trial, correct?
Yes, sir, I was.
And that trial involved the same factual issues that you are litigating here, which is whether you
Objection
committed
calls
domestic
for
abuse
illegal.
against Amber Heard.
Sustain the objection. Next question.
You brought that case against The Sun because you were angry at The Sun for calling you a wife beater, correct?
Yeah, that's
And you
Probably a
went,
pretty good reason.
and you went through that trial in London, correct?
I did indeed, yes.
Mr. Depp, you've already had a chance to tell your story, haven't you?
No, there
Objection
were
has to answer.
great limitations in the UK trial.
Overruled. Okay.
No further questions.
All right, redirect. Thank you.
Mr. Depp, Mr. Rottenborn asked you some questions about the UK trial. Why do you feel that this is the first time that you've actually had an opportunity to tell your story and, as you said, get the load off your back?
As the UK trial was me suing Dan Wooten and the Sun for defamation for calling me a wife beater. The UK have there are different laws, there are different ways they handle things. There are also limitations in evidence. Some things can be brought up, some things cannot be
Your Honor,
brought
they
up.
said it
Mr.
calls for a legal
Rottenborn.
conclusion. He's talking about limitations in evidence in the English.
Your Honor,
rules.
he's talking about his experience testifying.
Overruled.
You'll be okay. Yes, there is a very, everything is quite boxed in with regard to what can be said, what can be spoken about. So, Ms. Heard provided information to the Sun as their star witness, but the case was not brought against Ms. Heard. It was brought against the Sun newspaper, journal, whatever it is.
Mr. Rottenborn referenced that you were on the stand for multiple days.
4.5, I believe, yes.
Yeah. What was the nature of that examination? Or, excuse me, who was conducting that examination of you?
QC Sasha Was,
And whose attorney was that?
the Sun's.
Can we please pull up DX 857A?
All right, it's already in evidence, so we can publish it.
Mr. Depp, do you recall seeing this text message when Mr. Rottenborn was questioning you?
Oh, yes, I do.
Can you explain what you're conveying to Mr. Carino in this text message?
I'm in total shock that this is happening to me, that my entire life on the planet has been brought to the head of a pin with all this completely, utterly false information. So I am, when you're accused of horrific acts and things that you have not done, when it's actually some very ugly things that are going out there into the world about you on a non-stop basis by Ms. Heard and her team, you have a tendency as humans to get very, very irate and angry, not to the point where you go out and hurt someone, not to the point even where you assault a cabinet. But you do get irate, you do wonder why this person is doing this to me. So many things go through your head. And then you've got your family, you've got your kids, you've got your parents. My mom, thankfully, didn't get to read any of this, because that would have killed her. But my father, my family, everyone that I've met, the people that have supported me, suddenly I'm scum. And why? Never had to happen. One little lie. So yes, very angry.
Could we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 821? Mr. Depp, do you recall seeing this text message when Mr. Rottenborn was asking you questions?
Yes, he loves this one, yes.
Yes. Would you care to explain what you're trying to convey in this text message?
Well, Warner Brothers they were about to find themselves in quite a dilemma as the person that they had just cast.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation as to what Warner Brothers knew or thought.
Didn't I meet with them?
All right. If you could just wait for the question. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Mr. Depp, without explaining what Warner Brothers felt, why did you send this text message to your sister? And what were, excuse me, strike that. What were you trying to convey to your sister when you sent this text message?
Honestly, I felt responsibility for having gone to those people and painted such a beautiful picture.
Objection. Hearsay, Your Honor. Now he's talking about what he said to Warner Brothers.
Overruled.
Please continue.
You change seats.
So, sorry, you can continue.
I felt it was my responsibility to get the truth to Warner Brothers about what they were going to end up facing down the line, which is 2 franchises that would be causing problems for one another, especially as any news, any press, any media that came out about me at that time had been turned into, I was Charles Manson, I was the worst thing on earth, and they just kept coming. It was like a nonstop fire. So my responsibility, after having painted a beautiful picture of her for them, was to tell them, I think you better.
Objection, Your Honor. He's getting into what he claims he told Warner Brothers or wanted to.
He's saying what he wanted to tell them. He's not saying what he actually told them.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Mr. Depp, you mentioned 2 franchise films with Warner Brothers. What 2 franchise films are you referring to?
There was Aquaman and Fantastic Beasts, the one that I was in.
And why did you feel a responsibility with respect to those 2 franchise films?
Warner Brothers was starting to get quite upset about some of the things that were being said about me in the press that were constant hit pieces. On one level, yes, it's just acting, it's just movies, but it's business and it's your word. And I had given my word to them, and I felt responsible that I had to tell them exactly what was going on, and that it was going to end up ugly.
And which of those 2 film franchises were you a part of?
I'm sorry?
Which of those 2 film franchises were you a part of?
I was in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I was in the Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Could we please pull up DX 883? Mr. Depp, do you recall seeing these text messages during Mr. Rottenborn's examination?
Oh, God, yeah. Yes, I remember.
And you didn't seem to recall these text messages, is that fair?
It truly is fair. It's not,
Do you have
see
any,
knows, I don't know who Molly is, I don't know nothing about this.
do you have any understanding of what you're referring to in this text message? Or these two text messages?
No. I honestly, if somebody else had borrowed my phone or something and made this text to Stephen, possibly. But I don't understand the, I don't have that kind of, I don't have that kind of hubris or expectation. That's quite grotesque text.
Can we take that down, please? Can we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 1821? Mr. Depp, do you recognize this document?
That is behind the bar, yes.
Okay, and do you see Mr. Ronborn asked you some questions about whether there was a telephone
Yes,
in
now
Australia.
I see a telephone there now.
Yes. And
I do,
did you
I really
recall that
do.
telephone being there?
I don't recall the telephone being there, but I can see it now.
Can we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 1820? Do you recall me showing you this text message earlier on? Or excuse me, do you recall
Yes,
me
of
showing you
course.
this picture
Yes.
during your examination?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And I think I asked you whether you recall a phone being mounted on the wall in the left of this picture. Do you remember that?
Yes,
And what was your answer to that?
no.
Mr. Depp, Mr. Rottenborn asked you some questions about your honeymoon. Do you remember that?
Yes,
And I believe you had testified that you and Miss Heard were on the Orient Express together.
that's correct, yes.
Where had you been prior to being on the Orient Express?
We had been in Australia, and then made it over to Thailand to catch the Orient Express.
If we could bring up the Plaintiff's Exhibit 162 again. Mr. Depp, do you know who took this picture?
Malcolm Connolly.
And despite what Mr. Rottenborn showed you about the picture of you prior to this, do you see a bruise on your face in this picture?
I see like what looks like a pretty decent shiner and a kind of a scratched up nose, yes.
And do you recall how you got the scratches and the shiner?
There was a very brief freak out that Miss Heard had in our cabin just before this dinner. I can't remember why, but there were many. I remember taking the photograph, though. I mean, I remember being there. I remember meeting the chef and all. But I mean, the quality of the photo's not great. The quality of the other photo that he showed us has been prettied up.
Mr. Depp, did you ever physically abuse Miss Heard during your relationship?
Never. Never.
No further questions.
All right, sir, you can have a seat next to your attorneys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Your next witness, didn't quite get that, I'm sorry.
Mr. Depp calls Morgan Tremaine.
All right, Morgan Tremaine.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case and the penalty of law?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tremaine.
Hello,
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Morgan Cliff Tremaine.
And what do you do for a living?
I produce esports events and design video games.
And in 2016, what did you do for a living?
I worked as the field assignment manager at TMZ.
What is TMZ?
TMZ is an entertainment news website and television show.
And what were your responsibilities as a field assignment manager for TMZ?
I was the go-between the news desk in the office and the reporters in the field, which you might know as paparazzi.
Approximately how many paparazzis were you in charge of?
At the time, it was about 20 in LA, a handful, maybe 3 in New York, and then 1 in DC.
And what were your responsibilities specifically as to the paparazzi?
It would be to dispatch paparazzi to various locations based on tips or just direction dictated by having a list of sort of hot spots where celebrities would be.
And how were those tips received?
They were received either through tips that we received through our tip line or directly through news producers in the office.
And were tips frequently received directly from sources?
Very often the case, yeah.
And who were the type of sources that TMZ received tips from?
They would receive tips from, oftentimes it would be publicists, managers, agents, or B-list celebrities.
Lawyers?
And lawyers, definitely.
How are tips verified?
Tips are verified by an extensive process. If they come in through our tip line, we have to verify who sent it, that the source is truthful, and so they have to add their contact information, which is a field in that on that website for like name, phone number, things like that.
And how long did that process typically take?
If we receive a tip through the tip line, it could take a while because that would need to be, if it was a tip, we would need to verify it. If it was media, such as photos or videos, that would need to be extensively verified to ensure that the person sending it is the copyright holder and that we would have the legal ability to air it and distribute it.
And while working for TMZ, were you involved in any assignments related to Ms. Heard?
I was.
What was the first time you recall working on an assignment related to Ms. Heard?
I believe it was May 27th, 2016.
And what was your role in that assignment?
For that, Ms. Heard was filing a restraining order at a courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. So I dispatched camera people to that location.
Under what circumstances would you normally send paparazzi to a courthouse?
Only if we had been informed prior. It's not by any means a celebrity hotspot. We would only ever send people there if we had been tipped off that something was occurring and there was somebody present there.
And what footage was TMZ trying to capture at the LA courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
We were trying to capture Amber leaving the courthouse and an alleged bruise on the right side of her face.
What was your team of paparazzi supposed to do while they were at the LA courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay and foundation.
What were they supposed to do?
Right. She's asking for, I don't think there's a foundation or
I'll
hearsay.
overrule the objection at this point. We'll see.
Go ahead, Mr. Tremaine.
Can you state the question again?
What was your team of paparazzi supposed to do while they were at the Los Angeles courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
Their objective was to capture her leaving the courthouse, and then she was going to sort of stop and turn towards the camera to display the bruise on the right side of her face, the alleged bruise.
Did your team of videographers get the shot of Amber Heard?
We did.
What is the difference between receiving a tip from a news producer and any other source?
If it's any other source, it would have to be verified by copyright. If it was anything that was received directly through a news producer, then they go through that process to verify the source.
Did you do anything to verify the tip on May 27th, 2016 related to Amber Heard?
I did not,
Why not?
because it had come directly from a news producer.
Does that mean it had been verified?
It means that they had verified that tip and deemed that it was credible, and therefore a camera person needed to be dispatched.
After May 27th, 2016, were you involved in any other assignments related to Amber Heard?
Yes.
Can you tell me about those assignments?
The next one would have been August 6th, 2016, where she was giving a deposition.
So what did you do in relation to that tip?
I dispatched camera people to a parking lot adjacent to a law office in which she would be arriving to, so we could get the footage of her arriving for the deposition.
Do you typically send paparazzis to parking lots of law offices?
No, not at all.
Did you get the shot of Miss Heard on August 6, 2016?
We did.
After August 6, 2016, were you involved in any other stories involving Miss Heard?
Yes, I was.
And what story was that?
On the 12th, we received a video depicting Johnny Depp slamming some cabinets that was captured.
And what day was that?
I believe that was the August 12th
Of 2016?
of 2016, yes.
Can you describe to the jury how you received the video on August 12, 2016?
Yes, the video was sent in through our email tip line, which is an email distribution that goes to all the producers and to myself as the field assignment manager, because it often included celebrity locations. It came in as I recall,
Objection, hearsay.
He's just describing how it came in.
I think he's about to reveal hearsay, Your Honor.
I'll overrule for now. We'll see where it goes. Okay.
Please continue.
So I received that email, and it included a link from some unknown Dropbox type public website in which it contained that
Objection, Your
video.
Honor, hearsay. He's about to describe what comes from the Dropbox website, and that's.
So far, he just said he's was a link from the Dropbox. We'll see the next question. Go ahead, next question.
So you received a link. What was in that link?
In that link was the video of Johnny Depp smashing the cabinets.
And you received this video in your inbox, correct?
I did.
What did you do once you received that video?
We downloaded it. We alerted the web editor who was sitting next to me at the time. We downloaded it, and then were instructed by the news producer to do what we call slap bumpers and a bug on it, which is putting the dun 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 at the beginning end, and then putting a translucent watermark over it, which indicates copyright ownership.
After you did that, was it posted?
It was posted, yes.
Where was it posted?
It was posted to tmz.com.
Did you do anything else related to Amber Heard on August 12, 2016?
Yes, I received a tip that Amber Heard would be arriving at LAX, and so I dispatched camera people to film that exit, or her arrival to LAX, rather.
And why did you do that?
I was instructed to.
How long does it take to post a story after media's been received by TMZ?
After media's been received, it could take any length of time depending on who owns the copyright.
How does TMZ obtain copyright over images and videos?
The only way to obtain copyright over media would be if we shot it ourselves, if it was sent to the tip line, source verified that it was from the original copyright owner, and then either purchased from that person or given to us. And then the third option would be if it was directly given to us by the copyright holder, like a direct source.
And how long does it take to copyright something TMZ has received through the tip line?
It can take a while because you have to extensively verify that that person owns the copyright. And then possibly, it depends also if you can even get in contact with the person because they might not be super responsive immediately via phone or email that they provided. And then potentially you'd have to enter a negotiation with our clips and clearances department to figure out the cost of that media.
How long does it take for TMZ to obtain a copyright over something received directly from a source?
Something in the realm of 15 minutes just to do what I described before, which is putting bumpers and a bug on something and write the article and post it. It's pretty fast.
How much time had passed from the time you received the kitchen cabinet video to the time it was posted on TMZ?
About 15 minutes.
Did any other tabloids other than TMZ post this video?
No,
Objection leading and calls for hearsay.
Did any other tabloids?
Overruled.
Mr. Tremaine, go ahead.
No, they did not.
And why not?
Because it was a TMZ exclusive.
And what does that mean?
It means the TMZ owns the copyright to it. So it can't be distributed by any other media source without backlinking to TMZ, and they wouldn't be able to upload that media without getting a copyright strike.
Have you seen the kitchen cabinet video that was played in this trial?
I have, yes.
How does that video that was played in this trial compare to the one you received on August 12, 2016?
When I had clicked the direct link that we received and watched the video in its entirety, it was much shorter than the video we had received, than the video that's been played in this trial. There was a bit at the beginning that was played here in which Ms. Heard is seemingly sort of setting up the camera and getting into position. And then there's a bit at the end where she's seemingly snickering and looks at the camera. That part was not present in what we received.
Did TMZ edit the video?
No, not even a little. When we receive something and it's edited, there's a clear indicator because there's sort of a journalistic practice that uses when there's an edit, you do what's called like a white flash transition, which covers the entire screen with white to very clearly indicate to everybody there was an edit here for time or whatever, just to make it a little more compelling. But in this case, it was not edited as I was staring at the machine that edited it and present for the entirety of receipt to publishing.
When was the next time you worked on an assignment related to Amber Heard?
It was, well, there was the time where we went to the airport. And then the day after that, because she had flown in for the deposition, because I think the first time didn't work out. So she was arriving again for the deposition in that same parking lot adjacent to a law office.
And what's that, August 13th, 2016?
That was August 13th, yeah.
And what was your assignment on August 13th, 2016?
To dispatch camera people to that parking lot at a specific time in order to film Amber Heard arriving for the deposition.
How did you know that tip was legitimate?
It came from a news producer.
While you worked at TMZ, did you ever receive any communications from Mr. Depp or his camp?
I did not.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Yes. So how do you know what video was shown at this trial?
I was alerted by a friend that that TMZ was being kind of talked about in this trial, and so I had seen a clip of that.
So you watched some of this trial?
Correct.
Okay. When did you first reach out to counsel for Mr. Depp?
I believe that was 6 days ago, whatever that date would be. I'd have to do that.
All right. And then you received a subpoena, I think yesterday, in care of your attorney, Cindy Hickox, right?
Correct.
Okay. And Cindy Hickox represents Christy Dombrowski, Kate James, Robin Baum. and
Objection,
Debbie
Your Honor.
Lloyd. Were you aware
Calls
of
for
that?
speculation.
Overruled.
Were you aware of that?
No.
Now, if you don't have information that's helpful to this case, then you wouldn't be a witness, correct?
Objection calls for
can't-
speculation.
Sustained, sustained. Next question.
I'm not aware.
Okay, this case is being televised, right?
I am aware that there are cameras.
And so this gets you your 15 minutes of fame, doesn't it?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
I can ask that question.
Overruled.
So I stand to gain nothing from this. I'm actually putting myself kind of in the target of TMZ, a very litigious organization, and I'm not seeking any 15 minutes here. Though you're welcome to speculate. I could say the same thing by taking Amber Heard as a client for you.
A little argumentative, don't you think?
Oh, hardly. I find that to be purely logical. Thank you.
Now, are you aware that Mr. Depp's attorneys were well aware of the TRO that was going to be presented on May 27th?
Objection calls for speculation.
Were you aware of that?
Lack of foundation.
Overruled if you can answer it.
Can you restate the question?
Were you aware that Mr. Depp's divorce attorneys were aware that Amber Heard was going in to seek a TRO on May 27th?
I don't think I understand the question. I don't think so, no.
Okay.
kind of a
Do you
complicated question.
know whether Blair Burke, one of Mr. Depp's divorce attorneys, had a very close relationship with TMZ at that time?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled. If he knows.
I was not aware of that.
Okay, and when you said that you were dispatched twice, once to film Amber in a parking lot for the deposition, and then it didn't work out, and so you had to do it another time, how did you know it didn't work out?
Because TMZ.com posted an article saying as much.
Okay.
And
do you
I was
know-
not dispatched.
Do you know
I worked in the office.
why the deposition did not work out?
I'd have to reference the article, I forget.
So do you know?
I didn't write that story. I wasn't involved in the
Do
actual
you know
journalism of that.
which side would have known or not known whether that deposition was going to work out? In other words, the people representing Mr. Depp or the people representing Ms. Heard?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. And then the video clip. You don't know who provided that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Not testifying to
I
that.
have no further.
All right, redirect.
Mr. Tremaine, why did you contact me in relation to this case?
I saw that there was a discrepancy with like the video that was shown here and the video that I know I'd received. So I had no interest in testifying. I had reached out simply to maybe try to help with the timeline of things or help with the case in any way, just by virtue of understanding the timeline of the stories that were published and kind of how that can be unclear. But I had no idea I'd be on the stand.
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, sir, you're free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You have another witness? Okay.
Mr. Depp calls Brian Newmeister, Your Honor.
All right, Brian Newmeister. He has not been sworn.
Well, that destroys her whole case. Oh my God.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Newmeister.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your full name for the record?
It's Norbert, Norbert, Brian, I go by Brian, Bryan, Newmeister, Neumeister.
Could you start by describing your educational background, please?
My educational background, well, I graduated from Cal State University Northridge 42 years ago with a degree in political science. From then on, I've been working professionally in photography, totally unrelated, for the past 42 years. And that would also include videography, audio, and a few other different binary related tasks.
Where do you currently work?
I own USA Forensic.
What is USA Forensic?
USA Forensic is a digital forensics company. We are boutique. We're very small. We have offices in Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan, and in Phoenix, Arizona. We work with varying types of clients because to us, data is data and it takes no side. So we could be ending up working for prosecution, defense, law enforcement, the Innocence Project. We have a contract with the Department of Defense. We do classified and unclassified work. We've done classified work with various agencies. We've worked with DOJ, and I've worked in 23 countries as a photographer.
What's your title at USA Forensic?
CEO.
Did you also found USA Forensic?
Originally, in around 1990, it was called Skymeister, and that is because of the amount of helicopter photography time I have. About 10 years ago, we changed it to USA Forensic while still doing a lot of the same tasks.
And you described, I think, some of the entities that you work with. What kind of work do you do for those entities that you mentioned?
We do audio forensics, which is clarifying audio, for example, sting operations or audio that may have been picked up on surveillance or any other type of recording, removing background sounds. Video clarification, we do a lot of work with Axon
Your Honor, I'm
cameras.
just going to check on relevance based on the discussion we had earlier. This experience has absolutely nothing to do with anything.
All right, do you have an objection to him being moved in as an expert in the field?
Well, she hasn't moved yet. I'm objecting to the relevance of the testimony on the subject matter right now.
I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Go ahead, Mr. Neumeister, you can continue.
Where I left off is we do a lot of work with Axon police cameras because they don't really handle low lux levels or low light levels very well. So we clean up, we are beta testers for a program called Input ACE, which is part of the Axon company used by police officers. We clarify their cameras to better see what happened at night, for example, in different scenes. We do the same with surveillance cameras, any kind of camera, cell phone cameras. We also do cell phone forensics, computer forensics, and cell tower forensics, along with photographic forensics.
What types of cases do you work on?
It can be anything from Fortune 500s to it can be anything from a pro per, which is a person that's actually just representing themselves in a smaller case, to a lot of homicide cases, defamation. It could be any kind of case that requires cell phone extractions or computer extractions. Could be money laundering, could be the Department of Defense identifying a voice, that type of thing. Satellite imagery, and basically anything with binary information.
Have you been retained as an expert before?
Oh, yes. I would say we average about 150 to 200 cases a year. In the last 4 years, we've done over 600 cases, and that would be in U.S. federal courts, U.S. district courts, various state courts throughout the United States. We just wrapped up a case that was an overseas case, wrapped up yesterday. We do U.S. military court. We have a case coming up in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. So it's really varied. I've done quite a few U.S. district court cases.
Have you testified as an expert in digital forensics before?
Yes, and what people sometimes don't understand is only about 2% of all cases go to trial. So 98% of the time, you're actually just doing the forensic work and giving it to the parties. And as we say, data is data. It really doesn't take a side. We don't have a narrative. So very often it's just providing the data for the attorneys to work with or the parties.
Have you ever been excluded from testifying as an expert regarding any work that you performed?
No, but you have to take into account that sometimes there might be curbs put on what, for example, in this trial, there's certain boundaries. Or if you're working with a pro per or with a attorney that is not very familiar with electronics. And the thing is, again, they teach Latin in law school, not binary. And binary is the universal language these days. So sometimes in the legal system, it's a little bit hard to explain to attorneys what exactly we're doing. So we try to break it down and make that work.
What is digital forensics?
Digital forensics is anything that you are using, like your television set, your cell phone, your computer, anything that runs off of binary information that has coding in it.
How long have you worked in digital forensics?
Well, I actually started off in analog, so it's been 40 some odd years. I started off as a cameraman. My first cameras were film cameras. When I was a kid, my dad was a director of sales and sales service administration for the NBC television network on the West Coast. So I grew up around television cameras. My first cameras were cameras people might not have heard of, Leica, Hasselblad, cameras like that. I trained with some of the best photographers around at the time, William Wallner, Niall Latham, really excellent photographers. And I started shooting videotape from helicopters, and I logged about 14,700 hours of video. And at that time, oddly enough, since we were the only helicopter, a television helicopter, we were the only helicopter in Phoenix. At the time, the sheriff's department did not have a helicopter. The police department did not have a helicopter, nor did Aerovac. So we ended up doubling up, being a news crew as well as an air rescue crew. So as far as forensics, analog probably from 1980 to 1990, and digital from 1990 through current.
How'd you get started in it?
Really by osmosis. I started in the production field. I usually don't do that much TV work anymore. I did shoot part of an episode, a program called Planet Earth for the BBC last year. I don't normally do television anymore. It's just 99% forensics. But I got started because very often as working in the helicopter, we'd be asked to work for a police department in a rescue or a chase or whatever the situation might be. And since I'd be videotaping it, they would ask me to break it down frame by frame and analyzing it using what's called a time-based corrector in the day. And so word got out that I could do unusual things because I'm pretty good with machines. And it just ended up, more and more people started calling, and it just became a full-time job.
Have you received any professional certifications in forensics?
Yes, but again, most hackers and people who do interesting work don't have any certifications, because the certification is usually like a week-long course. I've been doing this stuff 42 years. My partner, Matt Erickson, he's actually a
Objection, Your Honor, to the partner who's not testifying to these qualifications on relevance.
Sustained objection.
Yep. Mr. Newmeister, can you just describe which professional certifications you have received?
For cell phones, Oxygen, which is a program similar to Celebrite. But these are programs that are used by law enforcement and by private parties to extract data from cell phones that has been deleted, or which is critical in a lot of cases, deleted data, or just to what we call image a cell phone. In other words, get every bit of data that's possible on a cell phone. And again, every cell phone is different. The next would be in cell tower forensics.
Are you a member of any professional associations in your field?
Yes, the IEEE, which is the International Engineering Society, and the reason I belong to that is about 40% of the world's white papers on electronics are published through IEEE. So they have a huge database on anything from microwave technology to telephone transmission technology. Anything that I might work with, they might have a white paper on it. Also, with the Audio Engineering Society, AES, I'm a member of that. I lecture to AES. There's a few others, but again, they're just mainly to have a repository of information.
Have you received any honors or awards?
Yes, I've received about 80 honors and awards. I have, for videography, I've got a total of 12 Emmy Award statues, but I've been the principal in 39 Emmy Awards, which means I've written the music for the program, and the program has won the Emmy Award for music, but it was given to the production company, which happens a lot. I won for best editing. I won for best ACE editing, which is computer editing. Best sound. I've done the music to a piece that won the Golden Lion at the Cannes Film Festival. I've done music to a piece that won the gold at the Calgary Film Festival. I've got a lot of awards from Associated Press and different companies from doing documentaries and news.
Have you published any works in the field of digital forensics?
Yes, and they're mostly articles, about a half dozen of them or so. We don't have much time, and I don't usually do it, but it was basically on, most of my work deals around clarifying or authenticating. So it was basically, the things I published were on clarification of digital files.
Have you appeared on TV as an expert in digital forensics?
Yes,
Where?
CBS, NBC, ABC, BBC, Discovery Channel, a number of different things.
Any particular examples of things that you've spoken on TV about?
Boston bombings, how the frame averaging was done on that, sort of things like that. Again, we get calls a lot, but I don't speak specifically about cases. I just speak about technology.
Have you given any public lectures in the field of digital forensics?
Yes, we get asked quite often, but due to our schedule, it's a little rough. We do what's called Inns of Court. We speak in front of private investigator groups. We do attorneys continuing legal education. Audio Engineering Society, we try to do a few a year, and that's about what our schedules will allow given our time.
Your Honor, at this point, I'd like to tender Mr. Neumeister as an expert in the field of digital forensics.
Any objection?
No objection,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
so moved.
Mr. Neumeister, turning to the work you've done in this case, what have you done?
I was asked to analyze the photographs of purported injuries to Miss Heard,
And what was the purpose of that analysis?
to authenticate photos or to review and see if they were altered in any way.
What did you analyze to reach your opinions?
Well, I analyzed groups of photos that were submitted by Miss Heard's legal team.
What work did you do to analyze those photographs?
Well, normally you start off by looking at what's called the EXIF data. The EXIF data is the binary data that's encoded into a photograph. It tells you, for example, if the flash fired, what the operating software version was of the cell phone or camera that shot a photo, what type of lens was used, what the f-stop was. There's literally about 1,000 lines of code in the EXIF data on a JPEG photo. So we would start with an EXIF editor or an EXIF viewer.
Anything else that you looked at?
Yes, when we're dealing with RGB cameras, which are red, green, and blue channel cameras, which would be a cell phone or a basic home camera, they're based on RGB channels. We would do four types of scopes. We would do a vector scope, we do a luminance scope, we do a waveform scope, and then what's called an RGB parade. And those scopes analyze different things. The vector scope analyzes where the different types of colors are headed in, for example, it's broken up into reds, magenta, different areas on a scope. We would take a look at that to see if there's anything out of the normal for the type of camera being used. In other words, would there be above a certain percentage of chroma? And chroma means color saturation.
Objection, Your Honor. Outside the scope, we can approach.
All right,
Like,
you want to approach?
Mr. Newmeister, based on the analysis you performed in this case, have you formed any opinions?
Pardon?
Based on the analysis you've done in this case, have you formed any opinions?
Yes.
What are they?
Well, three basic ones. One is quite a number of the photos had been through a photo, at least one, possibly two.
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation, which photos is he referring to? We have to go through this one by one.
One's in evidence.
Mr. Newmeister, in terms of the photos that you looked at and that you formed opinions about, do you understand if they've been submitted as evidence in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And what conclusions have you formed about those?
Same objection, Your Honor. That doesn't cure the issue of the objection. We have to go through this. Which photos is she talking about? Which one's in evidence? What exhibit numbers? That's the basis of the
We're
objection.
talking generally about opinions right now, Your Honor, and we're going to get into some specifics.
I think we have to go straight to the specifics.
Okay. Mr. Newmeister, have you prepared a demonstrative that aids in your testimony with respect to any of the photos that you looked at in this case?
Yes.
I'd like to pull up plaintiff's 1303, Your Honor, if I might approach.
Your Honor, I would, again, object. We can approach to discuss
Okay,
it.
you want to approach?
Tom, can we pull up Defendant's Exhibit 170A, which has been admitted into evidence? Mr. Newmeister, does this photo appear to be one that you have analyzed as part of your analysis in this case?
There were many versions of this photo. I would say there were dozens of different versions with different chromatic values, different file sizes, different physical sizes. Some had been through Photos 1 or Photos 3, which are photo editing software programs.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to show Mr. Newmeister's demonstrative, Plaintiff's Exhibit 1303.
All right, any other objection?
I would object again, Your Honor, because the photograph in 170A is not in evidence.
All right.
Or, yeah, I mean, the photograph is in evidence. None of the photographs he wishes to show the jury are in evidence.
1303 is in evidence over objection. Not in evidence, I'm sorry, as a demonstrative.
Just as a demonstrative.
I'm sorry.
Can we go to
Published in
1303,
this
please? And Mr. Newmeister, what does this demonstrative show about the photos that you analyzed?
Well, they appear to be similar. However, if you look below at the file sizes, one on the left is 712 kilobytes. The one in the middle is 489 kilobytes. And the one on the right is 524 kilobytes. Now, what's unusual about that is these photos will not digitally fingerprint with each other. They won't hash. In other words, forensically, they don't match. But the thing is, you could say, well, it was sent through email, maybe it's a different size. The file sizes, for example, would be possibly, you can select the file size, you send a photo, but there's no way to authenticate any photo that was presented in the way the evidence was collected.
And so what conclusions do you draw from that?
Well, this is just three of many of the same type of photos that are all different sizes and have different chromatic, which means color.
Objection, Your Honor. We just had a ruling on this.
All right, sustained objection.
Mr. Newmeister, stick to your opinions that relate specifically to what you analyzed about the EXIF data, please.
All three of these photos had to go through some type of transformation to change sizes.
We can take that one down. You mentioned Photos 1.5 and Photos 3.0 earlier, I believe.
Photos.
What is that?
Photos 3 and Photos 1.5 are editing programs that Macintosh or Apple put out with their product. It's for editing photos. In other words, you would put a photo in and you would change the colors, or you would crop it, or you would clarify it by enhancing, for example, the sharpening, or you could darken it. But when you save a photo through an editing program, you leave a mark on the EXIF data.
And what is the EXIF data?
The EXIF data is the data that is embedded in a photograph that tells you a lot about the photograph. And again, in the early days when we were using film cameras, you would write down the f-stop, which is the light setting. You would write the type of lens you use, the time of day, the type of film stock, the type of filters you're using. Now with digital cameras, that's done electronically. And there's about 1,000 lines of code, of which 50 are probably important, that tell you what the camera was doing.
So what's the significance of EXIF data in your photo analysis?
Well, in this situation, I can see that normally where the operating system of the camera would be, which means the version that of operating system the phone is running on, it would normally say something like, I'll just throw out an arbitrary number, 9.1.3 operating system for iOS, which is Apple's iPhone operating system. Instead of saying that, it says software Photos 3.0 or Photos 1.0. That means that the photo had to be rendered, which means composited together in an editing program.
Did you prepare a demonstrative that shows some of your analysis of some of the EXIF data of the photos in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay, can we pull up 1304, please? Your Honor, may I approach?
You okay?
Permission to publish as a demonstrative, Your Honor.
Any objection? Any objection, Mr. Murphy?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. My
She wishes to
co-counsel's talking.
publish
I'm
it
so sorry.
as a demonstrative.
No objections demonstrative.
All right, thank you. We'll publish it as 1304, just as a demonstrative.
And Mr. Neumeister, are these images in this demonstrative excerpts from the report you prepared in this case?
Yes, they are.
And what do they show?
On this particular photo, and on all of them, it shows the first few lines of EXIF data, the ones that would be most important for this photograph. So, for example, things you would see, the very top line would be the make of phone. It's an Apple iPhone 6. And then the resolution is 72 pixels per inch, 72 to 1. And instead, where it says software on a normal iPhone photo, it would, instead of saying Photos 3, it would say the software version, for example, 9.3.1. And then you've got the date and the time of the photo below that, which is really easy to change in an EXIF editor. And below that, you have things like the like the flash. You've got the exposure type, how long the exposure was. So what you just highlighted there again was the date and time. So that's universal time code minus whatever area you're in the world.
Anything else you want to show us with this demonstrative?
Yeah, just below that, if you look, there's some things that would say, for example, a directly photographed image. That is not going to be necessarily accurate once it's been through an editor. It will always pretty much say that. So when you're looking at scene type or auto exposure, these are things that really don't matter all that much. What would matter is, for example, if you're taking notes, the focal length would be important. The pattern of metering, things like that to a photographer would be important. And again, this is just a few lines, and the reason I put these in there was just to explain a bit what EXIF data is. The actual thing I'm trying to point out is the fact that instead of an operating system, it shows the editing program that was used on this photo.
Are there additional photos that you did this analysis for?
Yes, many.
Can we scroll to the next page, please, Tom? Is there anything about this photo that you noted as part of your analysis, Mr. Newmeister?
Yes, again, it's you know, right there, you've got photos 3.0 on that particular photo. And I think, you know, we pretty much covered what the stuff is, but again, you see the photos 3.0. And again, this could not come out of an iPhone this way. This would go into a computer, be edited and rendered through the photo editor. And this would then be embedded in the EXIF data.
Do you have other photos in this demonstrative?
Yes.
All right, can we scroll to the next page?
Same thing. You've got up here in the top, you've got the photos 3.0, and this is throughout a lot of the photos that are in evidence, or versions of the photos in evidence, were gone through photos 3.0 or photos 1.5, an earlier version.
Can we scroll to the next page, please, Tom? And what about this one?
Same thing, photos 3.0. And again, in a photo editing app, you can do an awful lot of things. So when you see photos 3.0, first of all, you know it's not anywhere near an original. There's going to be compression artifacts because it's a JPEG file.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Can we move on to the next page of this demonstrative, please?
And again, same thing. You've got the photos app.
Okay. And I believe there's one final photo in this demonstrative. What about this one?
Again, if you look up there, it says photos 3.0 on that particular photo.
All right, we can take that one down. Your Honor, I have a little bit left. I don't know if you wanted to.
All right, you want to take our afternoon? Let's go ahead and take our afternoon recess. Just do not discuss the case and don't do any outside research. Thank you. All right, so let's just come back at 4 o'clock, all right? Thank you.
All right, that was a long one. That was definitely a long one. All good information, though. All real good information. Don't you agree? Don't you agree? Karma, man. It does come back. What you put into the universe does come back to you. That is like so true. It's beyond true. Excuse me 1 second. Okay. So, I had no idea what the TMZ reporter was going to do. As somebody said, they were sitting on Amber's side. So I figured it would be for Amber. But as they said, he called Johnny's team, not her team. Can't you imagine? All right, what was with the black fingernails and the black everything? Like, was he like seriously in mourning or something? Oh, thanks, Jonathan. It's just, I'm not even going to get into it right now. I got really bad news when this whole thing started, but I'm not going to get into it right now. It's just, it is what it is. It doesn't make a difference. I'm still going to the wedding that I'm going to this weekend. I'm still planning on going to the party that I'm going to in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. And then my daughter's in a play on a Friday and a Saturday, which I plan on being at. So if it interferes with any of those, it will wait until then. It's just the way it's going to be. So the TMZ, thankfully, pretty much, without saying it, totally gave her up completely in regards to copyright, and that they didn't get the part with her going at the end of that video. I believe all of that. I really do. But they stick by it, and they stuck by it, and they stuck by it, and they stuck by it. And like, come on, guys. Like, just do your damn homework. But let's be honest. A lot of this information about Johnny Depp did not come out until what? I mean, I remember seeing the video going, I thought things were going downhill for him. I remember thinking that. Believe it or not, I believe it was her. And even like Joe Rogan talked about it. He's like, what's going on with Johnny Depp? And he was like, I don't understand what's going on with Johnny Depp. Because he was real thin, real gaunt looking. And he didn't look well. And then the next video you see is him slamming cabinets. Once again, abusing cabinets, not Amber. Once again, her holding the mug that is in the picture of the lines and everything that was with the cocaine, the cross and bones and all that fun stuff. That was her mug in that picture. Hello? That was the same mug she used in the video. It had to come up. It had to come up. But maybe they were like, we had 2 or 3 or 10 or 12. So that was the case, and forget it. I mean, she just, as like, if someone did something to you to violate you, you don't want to look at them. You don't want to stare them down. Sometimes you want to be strong enough to, but if you are the aggressor in a relationship, you have no problems looking at the person you taunted before, or abused before, or physically hurt before. You don't want to look at that person. So that goes to show you. That doesn't even make sense. Goes to show you where the balance in this relationship was. It doesn't matter what ages, and it doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't. It can happen to anybody, whether you're male, female, or non-binary, whatever you consider yourself to be. Whatever you consider yourself to be. Anybody can be abused. But if that's the case, then it's, you can't believe all women. So that flushes the whole Me Too shit down. But should the Me Too movement want to blame Amber Heard? Yes. They shouldn't want to protect her. Don't you agree? They shouldn't want to protect her. She's the one who's ruining everything for everybody. Of course she did, Joy. She's not a nice person. Sounds like she pushed the bar every chance she got. Yes, I think she literally would push him to a certain level of anger and frustration, as well as herself, because obviously she does not know how to control her anger at all. Ask her sister off the record. Ask her sister off the record. Just saying. That's why her friend, who she considered her chosen sister, to be able to tell you the truth, because she's the one who could tell you the truth, because she was the one who was there during that time, where Whitney didn't want to be around her. She was afraid she was going to hurt this nice man that she considered to be a brother, probably way more she considered her to be a sister, because he was caring and nice. Can I live in your penthouse in this remarkable building? Yes, of course you can. What a terrible guy, right? And he moved in all my friends. Isn't he terrible? Oh, he's awful. He's just awful. Wouldn't you want to pull them away from family and friends so the family and friends can't tell them what to say or do in that moment so they can have full control, and not the people that they love, not the people that they care about, the people who would be there to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly? Yes. You're going to be honest with the people who you know you can be honest with. And I don't think Whitney knows how to be honest with her sister because she's terrified of her. That I believe. Look at her. She has no fear in anything. I don't even think she thinks she's going to lose this. I think she thinks her looks will get her by. Or if you ask me, her looks is what's making her look horrible, because the amount of what's the right word I want to say? Lack of emotion. Like, meaning, yeah, she acted like she was upset. She acted like she was terrified. She acted like she was angry. She acted like she was, like, once again, like, just, like, crying hysterically because she was brokenhearted. She acted like she was in love with him. She talked about his love bombing. She talked about the amount of emotion that went into that, the over emotion, is what killed her. And then bringing up your acting coach, and your acting coach literally says she has trouble trying to cry. We all noticed that. We all noticed that. No, and Joy, I think I've said this 1,000 times. If it doesn't revolve around Amber, she's got no use for you. If you are not there to push her forward, she's got no use for you. That's all she is. Right, exactly. No empathy, no caring for anyone. Like she did Johnny. She tried to do it to so many of them. Please, you're going to sit there and tell me that Amber Heard was attracted to Kevin Costner. I disagree. If you're going to sit here and tell me that Amber Heard was attracted to Johnny Depp, I agree. Because in the Rum Diaries, he looked mighty fine. I mean, let's face it, we didn't see Johnny Depp out very often. He's a very private person to begin with. But even the fact that he couldn't go anywhere, granted it was 2020 and 2021, nobody could really go anywhere. But he got fired from Fantastic Beasts. She was given Aquaman too. That was infuriating. It was absolutely infuriating. It was infuriating to know that Sky News won. But I do believe if that was also televised, but let's face it, the UK does things very differently than America. If that was televised, I think the outcome could have been and would have been different. And, look, go check out that Umbrella guy. He'll tell you the same thing. And why? Because that comes from Adam Walden, who knew just about everything what was going on. And the shenanigans that was going on by her team, which Tug put out consistently. Even when everybody stopped caring about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, he never did. He never did. Come Geeksome never did. Nerdette never did. E-Hacker never did. These people stayed on it, and there's a few more. And I'm just forgetting who they are at the top of my head. But there are quite a few people, and that I'm not even naming, that have been on this forever. Oh, for Pete's sake. I'm looking at a Dr. Oz and whatever, that there's a recount amongst the two. Why would you vote for Dr. Oz in a state that he never lived? Why pay? Why PA? Why? Oh my God, when he said Aquanet, Ramblin' Rome. Oh my God. Now, here's what I need to go back and check out. I want to go back out and check out what the guy from TMZ said to Elaine, that everyone went, oh! And there was this guy in the background, and the gasp on his face alone was enough to make you want to die, because I still don't know what he said. I still don't know what he said that made, and I guess it was something snarky he came back at Elaine with. And he made everybody gasp. I saw that, Joy Lang. I did. I agree. I totally agree with you on that one. Go Herschel Walker, yes. He also played for the Eagles for, I think, a year. But he just about played for all the NFC East, I think, except for maybe Washington, which he might have paid for Washington at some point. Washington, D.C., that is. Anywho, where was I? The men that Amber Heard chooses. I'm sorry, I don't think James Franco is a very attractive guy. Maybe back in his 20s he was, but not now. So I think that is... Now, I'm sorry, you're going to tell me Elon Musk was because his looks were... and she just found him attractive? Or did the fact that he was one of the richest men in the world also attract her as well? Just saying. Yeah, I have to see what he said, because, like I said, the guy, and I'm going to tell you this: when you look it back and you do relook at what happened, Elaine, if you look to, all right, if we're looking at Elaine, look to the left towards Amber's side. There's a guy in a gray suit with a white shirt, and I think it might have been a green tie. He jumped to his side, the look of like, oh my God. And I think the gasp actually might have even came from him, because he looked so like shocked at what was said. And I don't know. I have to be honest, Ramblin' Room. I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not. I'm kind of in the middle where I feel politically homeless, because I don't feel I fit with Trump people, but I definitely don't fit with... I'm not looking to make this political conversation at all, but yeah, I feel like I'm politically homeless. That's where I feel. So, I don't know where to go, don't know what to think. I know what the hell is going on, but I personally don't think for our country to move in the right direction. I don't believe Trump's it. I believe we need somebody not so extreme. Somebody who's really trying to unite us. Somebody who's really not trying to tear us apart. Not that and see, with the media being the media, you can't trust them either. That's why I look to the internet for news. That's why I look to the internet for and you got to look for these people who've got nothing to gain by putting out this news. They're the people you need to look for, because, you know, if it's something to gain by covering on their channel because they believe, like Tug does about this story, like a lot of people feel about this story because they know that she's a liar and she's getting away with it and she's using a movement, and that's just completely wrong in my opinion. Yeah, same, Ramblin' Room. I have nothing against anybody who votes for either side. I really don't. I mean, I've got two sides of family. One's one way, one's the other, and you just can't. I mean, shit, I was a Democrat up until like just a couple of years ago. Then I went politically limbo because I'm just like, I'm neither side. I'm for the side that is more in benefit of the country moving forward. That's all. Moving forward, not going in a crazy direction that isn't forward, but not going backwards either. None of that is helpful. None of it's helpful. Oh, Southern Angel Eyes. You have no idea what I understand. I completely get it. I get it all. But I'm looking for someone to unite, and people, there's so many people who dislike Trump that it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. That's why I don't think Trump is the answer. That's all. There are so many people who dislike him, even the people who are politically in limbo, that just dislike him. And I don't believe that's the answer in our way of moving forward with this country. That's all. So try to, yeah. But Joy Lang, I will say this about Trump. He loves himself. He really does. And I mean, you can't change a man. This is the same man who did all the stuff on NBC, who did all The Apprentice, who did all that kind of stuff. He's the same guy. So that people thought he was going to change. I'm like, why do you think he's going to change? He's going to be the same guy. And he's going to be brash. He's going to be harsh. And a lot of people don't really like that. So I have nothing against each side. I understand where well, no, I should not say that at all. I understand that our country is going in the wrong direction. I just want to see somebody who can move this country into the right direction. That's all. That's all. Because it's not going in the right direction right now. Definitely. I don't know where the fuck we're going. And I don't think our administration knows where we're going. That's just my personal opinion.
We ready for the jury?
All right, here we go. Enough political talk for me.
Just one moment. Okay.
I don't want to bore you with I don't really care about politics talk anymore. Oh, I should show you in the end. I got 2 stickers for my car and they came in. And it's like a Dave Matthews and a Dave Grohl. I'm like, trust the Daves. Everybody, trust the Daves. I trust the Daves. Dave Grohl, Dave Matthews. Court's back. Yes, I will be quiet. I promise. Justice for Johnny. I think we're getting there. I think. I don't want to assume.
Yes, Your Honor, sorry, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Ben.
Southern Angel. That is why, that's why I voted for him.
All right. Okay, you can be seated. Your next question.
Thank you. Mr. Newmeister, do you have another demonstrative prepared that shows a photo with EXIF data reflecting that it was saved in Photos 3?
Correct. Photos 3, yes.
Your Honor, we have a video of these photos, and we're happy to play it once so that council can review, if that's all right.
Okay.
Just my opinion, real quick. I'm sorry. She's just not my favorite lawyer out of his group, but I don't think we need that today, especially with this guy. Um, but yeah, she's kind of, she's more easygoing compared to the rest of them. And for some things, that's good for. Like this guy, that's good for. But I forget who she was cross-examining that I'm just like, what? I'm like, yeah, no. But I forget what that was. There's so many people that we've seen going up on this stand. I mean, a lot of this meshes in with each other, but the fact of the matter is, Johnny's innocent. That's all. That's all it comes down to. And watch what they do when they go on the stand, especially Amber and Whitney. They barely put on makeup, but I guarantee you it's more whited out than we can see because of the cameras. So they're all freaking like whited out to look somber and sad, even though that's not how they feel. It's an act, it's a look, it's makeup. Just so I hope, in case, you know, us women know, in case us, you know, the men out there. And let me tell you, the guys on that, the most of the people on that stand are mostly male, young males. And there's seven. There's 7 people on the stand. One was pulled out, but most of them are young men. Rambling Rome. I kind of like Whitney, though. I do feel like she's being bullied by Amber. But don't perjure yourself, man. Think about it. How scared do you have to be of your sister that you're willing to perjure yourself? You're more afraid of your sister than you are your government. That's some serious ass fear, just saying.
All right, we took care of that, Your Honor. May we publish, or would you like to see it?
Okay. And what's demonstrative is this going to be then?
This is plaintiff's 1305, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Could you play it? There you go. All right, so 130, marked as plaintiff's 1305 and used as demonstrative, you can publish to the jury.
Mr. Newmeister, we're going to go ahead and play the demonstrative that you prepared, and then after the jury's had a chance to see it, if you want to explain to them what the demonstrative shows, that would be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you publish it? No, this.
So, Mr. Newmeister, what was depicted in that video?
The same photo treated 2 different ways. One was marked with the original or with the operating system from an iPhone, which is iOS 9.3.1 on that particular photo. The one that says 9.3.1, there's a graphic below indicating it. The second photo is marked Photos 3, and it looks quite a bit different.
And just, Tom, could we pull up defendant 708? Mr. Newmeister, does the image in defendant 708 appear to be similar, same photo as what was depicted in your demonstrative?
Actually it's the Photos 3.0 edit version.
Thank you. We can take that one down, Tom. Mr. Newmeister, have you also formed an opinion about defendants exhibits 712 and 713?
Correct.
Did you prepare a demonstrative that shows,
Your Honor, exhibits 712 and 713 are outside the scope of this.
I can show you if you'd like, Your Honor. All right, could we pull up plaintiff's exhibit 1306, Tom? And Your Honor, this is another video that, oh, can you pause that, please? This is another video that we prepared. It's not published yet, so I'm happy to play it once through. So that.
I would just request, what exhibits are they? Sorry, Your Honor. What exhibits are these that are in this video? It doesn't say. I don't know.
Yeah, I tried to get my question out a moment ago. Defendants 712 and 713, Your Honor.
12 and 713. Okay, 1306 then will be a demonstrative as identified and be published.
And if we could go ahead and play that, please. Tom? And Mr. Newmeister, what's your, what do we see here in this demonstrative?
There's exhibit 712, I believe you have. I'm not sure the dates number, 712 and 713. They're two separate exhibits, except it's the exact same photograph that's been, one's been edited, one hasn't. Or I can't say that one hasn't, but the colors have been modified in an editor.
Objection, Your Honor. Beyond the scope of your ruling, talking about colors. It keeps happening.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Newmeister, did you form an opinion in this case about the authenticity of the photos that you reviewed of Ms. Heard?
Well, first of all, nobody can identify the authenticity of the photos, of any of the photos. Marked photos 3, photos 1, or just marked with the operating system number. And the reason is the manner of collection. So these came from an iTunes backup. Now, what is an iTunes backup?
Objection, Your Honor. I'm sorry. You're beyond the scope of your ruling. EXIF metadata, this keeps happening.
Your Honor, may I approach on this one? So, Mr. Newmeister, without going into the specifics, what's your opinion about the authenticity of the photos you received from Ms. Heard?
Based on the way they were collected, there would be no.
Objection, Your Honor. We just ruled on this.
I framed my question, I thought, Your Honor, to avoid the issue that you're concerned about. Mr. Newmeister, what's your opinion about the authenticity here?
There's no way for any forensic expert to validate any of these photos.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Good afternoon, Mr. Newmeister.
Good afternoon.
Your only degree is in political science, correct?
42 years ago, correct.
And you have no degree whatsoever from any academic institution in computer science, correct?
That's correct.
And you have no certifications in computer forensics, correct?
That's correct.
From the opinions you've testified today, you relied on no data except for the embedded EXIF metadata to support those opinions, correct?
Incorrect.
What other data did you rely on for the opinions you've testified to today?
I was trying to explain that you kept
What
objecting.
other data did you rely on for the actual opinions you've been able to testify to today besides EXIF metadata?
The type of extraction that was performed? You're asking the question.
For the actual
that,
opinions you testified to?
That is what I would use. I would also use vector scopes.
Objection, Your Honor, that was not responsive to my question, Your Honor.
If you want to approach. Sir, you can answer that question.
Pardon?
You can answer the question.
Can you restate the question?
I don't recall the question, Your Honor. We can move on.
Your Honor, maybe we could have the court reporter read it back?
They could redirect.
No. Okay, what was the question, Judy?
I believe the question was, what methodology did I use to make my findings?
Judy's voice has changed. That's.
Sorry.
Is that correct, Judy? Okay. That's fine. Okay.
So when you're analyzing video or photo, in this
Objection to
case,
video, Your Honor, that's beyond the scope.
All right, if you could just answer the question, sir.
when you're analyzing a photo, a digital photo, you look at the EXIF data, you use a vector scope, you can use a Pantone chart if that's available, and that should be done, but that's a whole different deal. If I go into that, you'll object to it. So you'd also use a waveform scope. You would use an RGB parade. You can use a histogram, though in this case, it's not really all that relevant.
You are not offering any opinions that any photograph in this case was intentionally modified by Ms. Hurd, correct?
I'm just stating the fact that photographs were modified.
But so you are not offering any opinion that any photograph in this case was intentionally modified by Ms. Hurd, correct?
That's correct.
Can you please pull up Exhibit 170A?
Is that defendant's 170?
Defendant's 170, yes, Your Honor. So you offered testimony regarding this photograph during the direct examination, right, Mr. Newmeister?
There's
That's a yes or no, sir.
of a photograph like that. I don't exactly remember the photograph. There's so many different versions of this photograph, but yes, I talked about that particular photograph.
But do you recall being deposed in this matter?
Yes,
You were under oath?
yes,
And that was on April 6, 2022?
I believe.
Can I approach Your Honor?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, Mr. Newmeister, if you could please turn to page 76. And when I say pages, those are the little pages in the 4 boxes, not the
Oh,
page
gotcha.
at the top. And do you see page 76, line 3? You were asked on April 6th, anywhere in your April 1st, 2022 expert disclosure, do you offer any opinions regarding the authenticity or lack of authenticity of the specific photograph produced as ALH 7101? Response, can I refer to my report to see if that specific number is in the report? Yes. Response, not that specific photo. I just grabbed 3 out of the batch. Do you see that?
Yes.
Can you please pull up Exhibit 517, or Defendants 517?
Thank you.
You are not offering any opinions regarding this specific photograph, right, Mr. Newmeister?
That's correct. My testimony's been limited here.
And you are not offering any opinion that any photograph was visually doctored by Amber, correct?
Not by, I can't put the person who might have done it.
Well, you're not offering an opinion that a photo was visually doctored by anybody, are you?
I'd have to see each photo. There's no way to authenticate any of these photos based on what I received.
So you testified about Photos 3. Do you recall that testimony?
Correct.
Yeah, Photos 3 is a photo editing and photo sorting application, correct?
It's a photo editor and photo sorter, as are a number of editors.
So when you reference Photos 3.0, you never did any independent strike that, Your Honor. So when the software of a photograph in the EXIF metadata says Photos 3.0, that could be just saying that the photo was saved in Photos 3.0, correct?
Unless you looked at a scope of the photos, that would tell you that the parameters of the photo do not meet that of the cell phone that it was taken on.
But the notation Photos 3.0 in the software EXIF metadata, that does not in and of itself mean that the photo was edited in Photos 3.0, correct?
It means that you've recompressed the photo and it will not hash or digitally fingerprint with the original photo.
But it does not mean in and of itself that it was visually edited in any way in Photos 3.0, correct?
Again, it's not the same photo because you're using lossy compression once you save it. So you have changed the photo.
So if you could please turn to page 233 of that transcript. And line 20, do you see question? When it says exit software, okay, Photos 3.0, on to 234. That's just saying it was saved in Photos 3.0, right? Response, saved in 3.0, that's correct. Question, that notation in and of itself does not mean that the photo was edited in 3.0, right? Answer, that's correct. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
A file has not changed visually just because it has been processed through Photos 3.0, correct?
That's incorrect.
Can you look at page 128 of your deposition, please? At the bottom, line 20, question, you see, question, but the file changed visually just because it has been processed through Photos 3.0. Answer, you know, obviously I understand what you're asking. From a technical point, yes, because of the compression. You get down to scopes and artifacts, yes, it has changed. Was it intentionally changed? We don't know. In other words, did somebody save it in there and just save the photo? We don't know. Did I read that correctly?
That's correct. But again, it says here.
That was my question, Mr. Newmeister.
Okay.
So if the EXIF metadata software field lists the software as iOS, you have no reason to dispute that, correct?
Incorrect.
Well, isn't data data? That's what you testified to, right?
It's very simple to modify EXIF data.
Did you find any evidence in this case of actual modification of EXIF metadata?
You can't authenticate any of these photos because of the way they were.
That wasn't my question, Mr. Newmeister. Did you find any evidence of any modification of EXIF metadata of any photograph in this case?
You didn't listen to my answer. My answer is there is no way to know because of the way the files were presented.
So you found, but you found no actual evidence of it, correct?
That no one could,
I'm not
either
asking if
way.
anyone else could, Mr. Newmeister. I'm asking, did you yourself you found no evidence of any modification of EXIF metadata of any photograph in this case, correct?
Now, I understand trying to control the narrative, but there's no way to answer that scientifically because given the evidence we were given, there is no way to positively or negatively answer that. It's not a question that can be answered.
It is a question, Mr. Newmeister. The question is, did you yourself, you found no affirmative evidence of any modification of software EXIF metadata of any photograph in this case, correct? You found no actual evidence of that, did you?
No one could tell either way because.
I'm not asking about anyone else, Mr. Newmeister. I'm asking about you. Did you found no evidence of that, did you?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
He's not answered what he found, Your Honor.
Overruled.
There's not a way to answer that the way you're asking the question. You have to restate it you're trying to control.
Your Honor,
the
he's not
narrative.
responding to the
All right, could
question.
you just answer yes or no, sir, to the question?
It's not a yes or no question.
Did you, yes or no, you found no evidence of EXIF metadata modification of any photograph in this case, correct?
That's incorrect.
Okay. It is your opinion that the metadata of all photographs of purported injuries that Ms. Heard has identified as her trial exhibits do not indicate that the photographs went through a photo editing application, correct?
Well, first of all, that's not a yes or no question because a lot of the exhibits that you have put up, they're not photographs. They're screen grabs, and they've been changed from a Apple format, which is JPEG, JPEG, to a JPG Microsoft format. So you have actually changed the exemplars. You've changed the data yourselves. We actually ran EXIF data on some of your own examples that you've entered in the evidence. They are not photos from an iPhone. Those were edited on a PC.
I'm going to hand up a page from your disclosure.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you see on page 8 of your disclosure, Mr. Newmeister, it states, quote, the metadata of all of the photographs of purported injuries that Ms. Heard has identified as her trial exhibits do not indicate that the photographs went through a photo editing application. Did I read that correct?
That's correct.
No
But
further-
we're talking
no
EXIF
further
data.
questions, Your Honor.
All right, redirect.
Mr. Newmeister.
Yes.
A moment ago, Mr. Murphy was asking you some questions about your opinion about the trial exhibits that Ms. Heard has offered in this matter. And he asked you about your opinion that they don't indicate that they've gone for a photo editing application. What can you tell us about that?
Well, first of all, on this last exhibit, it says metadata, not EXIF data. So that's two different things altogether. We're talking EXIF data, and on the report, I put metadata because I was requested to cover meta and EXIF data. So it's taken out of context. The EXIF data is the data based that's embedded in the photo. Metadata can be the file data about the file itself, two different things. So the way the data was collected, it was an iTunes backup is a backup.
Objection, Your Honor. Backups outside the scope of Your Honor's ruling beyond
you.
EXIF metadata.
I think you opened the door on the.
Overruled the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Go ahead, Brian.
An iTunes backup is only a backup of things that are on an iPhone that have not been deleted. It does not have the critical operating system. It doesn't have any of the files that would validate the path of a photograph in that phone. It does not have a lot of the log files. It does not have the Knowledge C database, which talks about usage of the phone and the patterns of how data was handled. All it is the photos you decided to save, not the photos you deleted. So it's a very limited database. Without the system registry or without the system operating system, there's no way to tell, because it's very easy to modify a photo on a phone and have it just read iOS 9.3.1. But with the actual phone, if you were able to get a hold of the actual phone, and in 95% of all cases we have the actual phones. It doesn't matter if the phones are 10 years old or 20 years old, or not 20 years old, but 10 years old. The reason is if people have something they want to keep as evidence, they don't throw out their phones. They don't recycle their phones. They save their phones. So people ask how we're doing phones on 13-year-old cases, because people do not throw out evidence. They keep the phone. So in a situation like this, there are no forensic extractions. In fact, the extractions we were provided were backups of iTunes, just exports. So it's third generation, and there is no way to verify the file paths and the history of any single photo that we've looked at.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. You can have a seat in the courtroom or you're free to go.
Thank you very much.
All right, your next witness.
We call Beverly Leonard by video link.
I need the TV. All right, just give us a moment to get the TV up.
I'm sorry, who's ever recording this shit, or at least turning things off and on? What the freak? What the hell is this? Oh, Ramblin' Rome, I have a mega pint with me right now. What the hell? Ooh. I bet you that's really good, like on a roast or something, MK. I have no idea what happened, guys. Let me see. No, guys, it's Sky News. Ooh. Are they officially down? All right, here we're going to go. All right, guys, give me a second.
On the TV screen.
Okay, 1, 2, 3,
Did it.
5.
All right, the lessons we learned in COVID, correct? Okay. All right, your first question.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Ms. Leonard.
Good afternoon.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Beverly R. Leonard.
Where are you testifying from?
I'm testifying from my
Alrighty. Long crime it is. Whatever.
Why were you at the airport?
I worked there.
What happened when you met Ms. Heard in 2009?
I was in the baggage claim area, and I observed her with a traveling companion, and they got into an altercation where Ms. Heard had grabbed her traveling companion and pulled something from her neck. At that point, I got up and went over to try to break up what appeared to be a fight. And I summoned a colleague to help me, and I stepped in between them and separated them stopping any further injuries or escalation.
How would you describe the interaction between Ms. Heard and her traveling companion?
Miss Heard was aggressive towards her traveling companion, and she had reached up and grabbed her arm and pulled a necklace off of her, and then I observed her having it in her hand. She seemed to be not very steady on her feet. Her eyes were blurry and watery, and I could smell alcohol.
What was Ms. Heard's traveling companion's reaction to being assaulted by Ms. Heard?
Objection, relevance?
I'll sustain the objection.
On relevance? Yes,
Yeah.
okay. What did Ms. Heard's traveling companion do?
She raised her hands in what appeared to be a defensive manner. But other than that, she was pretty stoic and didn't really respond much. Her stature was 2 or 3 inches taller than Ms. Heard, so she didn't really need to have to defend herself.
How would you describe Ms. Heard's demeanor when you stepped in between Ms. Heard and her traveling companion?
She was somewhat dismissive. She just said, we're just having an argument. We're fine. We're fine. Because I was asking if they were okay. Are you okay? Is there anything wrong? What's going on? And
Objection, hearsay. Just objection, hearsay to what she's saying.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
What, if any, injuries did you observe on Ms. Heard's traveling companion?
She had abrasion on the side of her neck where the necklace was, like a rope burn from the chain as it was removed.
How did you come to testify in this trial?
I became aware of this situation, specifically this trial, because I was sent an email anonymously. I don't even know who it came from, asking.
Objection, hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
How would you generally describe Ms. Heard's behavior on the occasion you met her in 2009?
Objection, Your Honor, I already asked and answered the specifics. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Cross-examination.
Ms. Leonard, when did you contact counsel for Mr. Depp?
Late last night.
Late last night. Okay. And this happened in 2009, correct?
Yes.
13 years ago, correct?
Yes.
And you know that this trial is being televised, right?
Yes.
And so you know that if you have something that might be significant to say, that way you can get on television, right?
No, I had no desire to be on television. I actually waited for a call and wondered why I hadn't been contacted.
All right, but you only you reached out and contacted them last night, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, any redirect?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thanks, Ms. Leonard. You're free to sign off. Thank you.
All right.
All right, your next witness.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're still on track to have closing arguments on Friday morning, but the plaintiff only has one more witness in rebuttal, and then since we have a counterclaim, the defense has a chance to have rebuttal for their counterclaim, and so you'll hear the remaining witnesses tomorrow on that. So since we don't have anything further today, I'm going to go ahead and release you at this point. Do not discuss the case with anybody, don't do any outside research, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, okay? Thank you. Okay. All right, and then for the record, charge the plaintiff the remaining time till 5:30. The plaintiff has 7 hours and 8 minutes left as of this moment, and the defendant has 1 hour and 16 minutes left, right? So we're all on the same page. Okay, and jury instructions, we get clean copies today?
Yes, Your Honor. So here's, I think we just received their comments around noon today, but we've had someone not in the court who's been
Okay.
looking at those and I think has narrowed down the areas of disagreement and either is sending or has sent to Sammy an email that sets forth the few remaining issues of disagreement. But
Okay.
largely, I think we're mostly there, but I haven't had a chance to read what they sent.
Mostly, okay, so I have everything, so I don't have everything quite yet then.
It's not final.
Okay, but I will get it sometime this evening.
There,
We have an hour now, you can stay in the courtroom and work it out. How about that?
we're happy to address those. I think we need an opportunity to see what we sent them our comments 2 days ago, and we just got it 3 hours
I
ago.
understand, but
so
we have some extra time right now, so nobody leaves until I get my jury instructions. How's that?
That's fair.
I like that. Okay, we'll do that, and the verdict form also. And then, if I could read Sammy's handwriting, I'd tell you exactly what he's saying. Sammy, what are you saying here? Oh, yes, we got the 3 jury instructions that are under advisement, so we'll address those tomorrow as well, okay? And we'll work on Sammy's penmanship. All right, anything else?
So to be clear, Your Honor wants to hear the disputes right now or tomorrow?
We could, I mean, I don't think you know what the disputes are yet.
Right.
So I'll hear the disputes tomorrow. Well, yeah, we could do those at some point tomorrow. Sounds like we're going to have some extra
We'll have
time tomorrow. So we'll take care of those tomorrow, but I want everything today. I want to know what those disputes are and have what you have clean.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that by 5, you will get
Okay.
what the disputes are.
Okay, for everything, right? Okay, so just stay here until
For
we get
both.
all that,
Yeah.
for everything. Okay,
Sure.
great. Anything else then?
No,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
we'll
Thank
see you in the morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Well, that's that for today. Um, I missed what happened at the end and why this just ended so abruptly. Oh, absolutely. No, 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 no. I'm here tomorrow. I'm here tomorrow. Um, Not only that, I'm supposed to have an eye doctor appointment, and I have to skip that because I just don't have time for it. And I have to get ready for. We have to take my kids down to my parents on Friday. We were going to stay for dinner. That's not happening. Um, and then we leave Saturday for New York. So I'm super excited. Um, Absolutely. I'm sorry. I got already still being a mom during all of this. Still being a mom. Um, my daughter's going to a birthday party. Her and her friends are going to dinner all the way up to New Brunswick. Hold on one second. Don't know what the hell this is about. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, no, that was thankfully the eye doctor who I needed to call and cancel. They just called for me and canceled already. Alexa, what are you doing up here?
Dad wanted me to tell you that he's taking the dog for a walk and then he's gonna go pick up Grace.
All right, listen to me.
Yeah.
I want you to get your hair done and everything. They want you over their house by 5:30.
5:30.
Go, and when you come home, you got to get a shower. Understand?
Got it.
All right. So, so don't being a mom. Um. Anyway. Yeah. I did get to hear what that guy said. From TMZ. She said something to him like about his 15 minutes of fame. You see the cameras here, this is your 15 minutes of fame. He's like, no, I'm really not looking to gain any kind of fame from this. As a matter of fact, this doesn't help me. This hurts me, especially against an organization like TMZ. And he's right. And he went, actually, he goes, actually, I could say the same thing about you taking on Miss Heard as client. And and I was right. The guy had a gray jacket, a white shirt, and I'm trying to narrow this down because I really want to make his face. But what I didn't realize is everybody's face, there are a few, but mostly everyone's going, oh, because it was a burn. It really was a burn. And she's like, that's quite snarky of you. Or argumentative is what she said. I'm like, bitch, you are nothing but argumentative, okay? Because you automatically think you're going to win this, okay? But I think for the first time, they realize nobody's on their side. There's no way to hide this except through transcripts like the UK. There's no way to hide it. Oh, I love that she was snapped to Elaine. Oh, I know. Oh, Joy Lang. I went back and I listened to it. I'm like, oh, that's what he said, because I knew it was something snarky. because I'm looking at the guy right now. I got Long Crime on my TV, and I don't know what happened to Sky News. They just kind of like puttered out. Thankfully, I didn't need to use Long Crime that long because they're freaking they're striking everybody who has it up. They're striking. They're not even putting a copyright claim. They're striking channels. Which the funnier thing is, that's not even their cameras. It's Court TV's cameras. So Long Crime doesn't even have the copyright to this. I don't know if you can share a copyright, but unless Long Crime owns Court TV, which is possible, I don't know. See you tomorrow, Ramblin' Rose. Yep, I will be back. I will probably still be in bed. I'm going to try to be sitting up straight tomorrow because I got to get used to being in the car for at least 4 hours. I'm going to hopefully switch spots with my husband for like 2 hours to 2 hours. But, oh my God, we are so excited for this. Oh my God, we are so excited. We need this so badly. Even in pain like this, we need this so badly. Saying every witness wants to be on TV. You have to understand, Joy Lang, they've got nothing left. They got nothing. They have an hour and change left. That's it. And until then, they're done. And that's the truth. They've got nothing left to fight with, except using clout, using whatever it is that they can. And if you notice, they're objecting to everything almost because they've got nothing else. I mean, to sit there, like literally, for Elaine to even use that amount of time to be snarky to a witness when you have so little time left is the biggest sign of a really bad lawyer. And if Amber didn't take as long as she had to remember as much as she did, every detail, every spot, every second, once again, nobody remembers that fucking much from 2016. And guess what? I had a horrible 2015. I barely remember because your head goes through trauma. Your head goes through trauma. And it's the body's natural reaction to try to fight off trauma. And that means with a lot of things that are horrible, that are happening to you, your brain and body will fight whatever it can to keep you going. And that's why her story never made sense from the get-go. But I really never sat and thought about this until 2020, until the beginning of 2020, when I first heard that audio tape for myself from Incredibly Average. If it wasn't for Incredibly Average, I would not be where I am now, because as soon as I heard those recordings, it was over. And I don't know if they ever, surprisingly, and this is why I say to you, there's no such thing as journalism anymore. If I can find something like that, and you're telling me someone who's getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be on ABC, NBC, CBS, Gayle King. Gayle King doesn't have that much enough experience to know what I know. Time to fire Gayle, isn't it? Actually, I would say fire everybody. But then again, you'd have to start from the top, and that would be the owners. And that's going to be a hard thing to do. But, like I said, I have some journalistic schooling. And I worked for a journalist. I was a journalist. I worked for a journalist. I worked for a news It was local. It was very, very local, but it was a news network. It was somewhere to get your local news, local everything. And there are some times where some big things, and I had to go to the courthouse and sit through a lot of court cases. And one was about this big drug deal, and it was a family, and this was 1998, so this was like, oh my God. And I think it was only about weed. Think about that now, that's so freaking nothing. But that takes more effort than looking on the internet. And you're just going to sit here and tell me somebody didn't give this information to any of these news networks for them not to see. No. And that's why the guy from TMZ was the best. That's why the guy from TMZ was the one to kill this. Like, seriously. And it wasn't TMZ. It was a reporter from TMZ. And I forget where I was hearing it this morning. I was listening. I woke up early, started listening to things, went back to sleep, and then I turned on Nerdette, and she had said that they started late this morning. And I didn't see that part. I didn't see that they started late this morning. So I had jumped in at maybe 9:15, so maybe I didn't, maybe it might have been 9:20. So I was like, ah. So I jumped on, and she was already saying like I didn't miss that much because they were running late this morning. And I thought, okay. And then they went quickly to their first break. And then lunch took forever. And then all of a sudden it was abruptly ended. I really don't know what happened because I was listening. My husband was here and I had to explain to him medical issues that were going on. So I really did not hear the end and why it ended so abruptly. Is he still considered an expert? Are they just trying to shut him down on her team? Because that could be the only explanation that I have no idea. If they're going to try to strike to have this thrown out again, I swear to God. Like, do they not think that the jury sees these acts of desperation? Do they think that these guys are too young to see it? And do they think, could you imagine, didn't Eve Barlow try to dox the jurors from the beginning? Isn't that what she tried to do? And let me tell you, it can't be easy being on that, especially, and like, you're not looking at all this stuff, but that doesn't mean somebody isn't saying something to you. It says, do not talk or discuss about this with anybody. That doesn't mean somebody can't come up to you and go, oh my God, she's lying, I hope you see it. Right? And if anybody who's watching this trial, I would be like, trying to warn them in every which way. I swear I would. Oh my God, but I don't think they're that dumb. I don't think anybody's that dumb not to see through her games, correct? Correct? Yeah. She's her own worst enemy. But when you think you are above everybody else. See, I missed Kate Moss today. That's what I did miss. I did miss Kate Moss, but thankfully her statement wasn't very long and it was over and done with pretty easily. But thankfully that put that lie to rest. Thankfully. I don't know what that's about, but I'm turning that off. So yeah, guys, Amber's team literally has an hour. JD's team has a little more than 8 hours. Tomorrow's pretty much going to be completely dedicated to Johnny Depp. Completely. So that'll be a good day tomorrow for court. But you're not going to see a lot of rebuts, especially if they don't have time left. And Fridays is supposed to be closing arguments. And that's it, guys. That's all they wrote. So we're not gonna know anything until after Memorial Day weekend. I do believe by next Friday. I think by next Friday we'll definitely have a decision. I don't think the decision is hard, but then again, I'm not a jury, not supposed to be watching any of this, not supposed to be talking about it. But for my own eyes, to watch her face today about him being on the stand, that would have been enough for me. She was so smug. Johnny's never looked smug. He's never looked up, period. He's laughed, but he's never been smug. Yeah, she's a class act. She slipped, fell. Johnny ran to her, picked her up, and got her a doctor and ran to help her. Right? She didn't want a stairs accident just like her. You dumb schmuck. Just for bringing her up, you dumb schmuck. And that your attorneys didn't say, that's a dumb schmuck of a move. Bad attorneys, man. How did they get her this far? And I really have a hard time believing Elon bought these guys. I have a hard time believing that. All right. To the one person that's left listening, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you coming around to watch it here. You could be any other place, but you chose to watch it here. And I appreciate you for that. And I want no money from you, so that's even a better point. I ain't looking for any money. I'm doing this on my own free will, just because, you know what? When you get your jobs taken away from you, you can't physically work. You have kids. You can barely do what you're supposed to do now. Gets a little depressing, gets a little horrible, but thankfully, this has given me an outlet, and thankfully the bad road I feel like I was going down is done. Although I heard a girl on another community talking about the trauma community, I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't go there. Tried to help her out. Warn her. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. All right, everybody. I will see you bright and early, 9 a.m. Everybody, that one person that you are. See you at 9 a.m. on Joy. Thank you, Joy. I love you, Joy. Not just because you're the last one here. I just adore you. I think you're a wonderful person. Always have. So, with that being said, Joy, have a wonderful, wonderful night. We will see you tomorrow. And I will be here for closing arguments, too. So, that'll be the end. At least I'm glad to be home for that. All right. Bye, everyone. Bye, Joy.